And we have started.
All right, I'd like to call to order the special Board of Finance meeting for, what's the date today?
March 5th.
March 5th. I'll open with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, full disclosure to you gentlemen, last night we did talk about your budget during the meeting, even though you weren't here. I had brought up that I had met with Pete and Chief and discussed some items. We spoke with Brianna. I think we can let you do your presentation and then we'll talk about where we think we want to be, okay?
Sure. So some of the items that were presented to the finance and to the board of selectmen were small increases. There was some adjustments made with the after meeting with the board of selectmen to reduce our training needs. We were able to move some training to on-duty training, which greatly reduced the number, especially since Marcia had us using the proper rate, which we weren't using in the past, prior, or in our presentation. But one thing that the Board of Selectmen removed, which is in the handouts I gave you, was our request. We had requested 2 additional officers, one part-time dispatcher, and we were also instructed to put in our budget the part-time records clerk, which had been taken out last year and then was approved in a special appropriation. I don't.
Right, but we
So
said
it-
to go back through the process of the
Right,
budget.
right. So it made us look like we were asking for 4 when it was 4 people in this budget, but we were only increasing the staff by 2 full-timers and a part-timer. The Board of Selectmen removed the 1 officer altogether and gave us a half officer with a end of 2025 start if we were going to hire a new officer because of the academy start date, and if it was going to be a lateral certified, we couldn't hire him until January. I'm not really sure how we would know at the end of the year that we weren't going to get a lateral, but so in my presentation I gave the numbers for the calls for service, the increase in the amount of hours per officer that we were spending on these calls, which is in your handout, and I was asked to go back 5 years by the Board of Selectmen, so I did that. This information was also presented to the Police Commission the end of in December, I believe. They had suggested that I ask for 4 additional officers to make up for the difference in these calls, but after the discussion they supported me on my ask for 2. So I had already scaled it down before I went to the Board of Selectmen, and they scaled it down again. As you can see by some of the charts that I've given you, don't mistake that there's an enormous amount of crime in Brookville over the last 5 years, because that's not the case. But
Excuse
the
me for 1
calls,
second. Brian, the graphs do show quite a differential. The graphs are not like a little bit of an increase. The graphs that he's talking about show big moves. So,
I'll text it to you.
yeah.
Take
Oh, she's gonna text it to you.
Thank you.
so the calls for service, as you can see, like just over 5 years, the calls for service have increased 39%, and the man hours over the same period of time have increased 80%. As an example, I used of domestic violence, which the calls haven't really increased. Actually, when I started this in 2020, we had more domestic violence than we did last year. But you can see by the hours that we spent, because of state mandates and changes in policy, we spent almost double the amount of hours investigating over the same period of time. So it's the calls, although they're going up, even the calls that have remained the same, which is good, domestics have remained the same, the amount of time we've had to spend on the investigations for those particular calls has doubled. And we're still running, even though you gave me one officer last year for my traffic position, we don't have that person yet. They're still in the academy, and it's going to be months before they graduate the academy, and then months before they're done with field training. So I don't have those people, even though they were approved last year, even though we moved on it right away. It takes a year to spin somebody up. These calls are being handled by almost the same number of officers over the last couple of years. You can see that we've had fluctuations in the actual number of officers between 33 and 32 and 33 officers. So even though on paper we have authorized for 37, we're most of the year, because when we get these people approved, it takes so long to spin them up, and then we either lose people during training or they don't make it through the academy. The same amount of officers are handling much more calls for service. And some of that in this past year has been self-initiated because of traffic complaints being the biggest complaint in town. That the calls for service is self-generated activity on the officer's part, which is good. They're doing traffic enforcement. They have to get pulled off to go handle other calls. So what looks like 5 officers on a shift, because of contractual issues or sick time or just staffing issues, we're running with an average of 3, a little over 3. So just to bring you up to speed, why we need those 2 officers, why they're so important for us, because even if they get approved in this year's budget, it'll be next year before I'm able to realize any benefits of having them.
So we talked about this last night quite extensively. Brian, we looked at it, Marcia and I looked at this too, is they give us back money generally every year. So when you were saying there's 47,000 here that we could probably come back, it does come back to us at the end of the year. They have a reverse contingency which gets us 100, but in a generality they give us back money at the end of every budget year that goes into the general fund. So they're not spending their whole budget anyway. They give it back to us unused. So I
saw the data.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I ran an exercise with Marcia. Marcia, we might as well do the exercise and bear with me right now. Marcia, can we grab? I know you're busy
I'm just
today.
trying to get Steve in here.
We're good. Let's get through this part. So Brianna also stood by you guys and said it's hard to get a part-time dispatcher, but try to get a part-time dispatcher. But Marcia and I put the money in a contingency in the budget right now. I mean, we got to finalize the budget, but in the budget right now, we have enough to cover a full-time dispatcher with benefits if you can't hire a part-time person. We'd like you to try the part-time. Obviously, with the benefits, it gets a little bit up. And we put in $60,000 into this budget right now for another police officer to get you started. That was a number we had discussed together. So that is in this budget right now. Now, when we ran the numbers, we came out with a fairly good number as an overall end percentage. And Brian, we got tweaking to do yet. But I think our final number right now with what we had put in the revenue, the $500,000 in extra revenue, we're at what, Marsh? Like 3.8?
Yes.
3.8 overall. So,
Hey, so can I just add, the request went into the Board of Selectmen for 2 and 1 came out.
Yes.
I don't think Steve's in the room. Is
No.
there any background on why they took 1 out?
the $500,000 down in revenue, I think, made a lot of things a lot tighter. So we have a little bit more leeway.
It's affordability?
I think it became affordability and trying to keep it under a number. So when we got this, I think it makes sense to put it in now, and then if we got to look at it and see where everything washes out, right? That's why we ran the exercise. And Brianna,
Yeah, I don't know, Marcia, if you're in the room. I didn't watch it, but if we can confirm its affordability, that makes a lot of sense to do it the way you're saying.
It was affordability.
Okay,
Lisa, we're
this
still
is good
trying to
data
open the
that's
pension
being
fund.
provided. I appreciate these grants.
Yes, we are gonna,
That's something that we truly do, I agree with you, yeah.
bear with me. Stay with me here,
All right.
come on. I had a long day with Marcia today.
Okay.
So
I
bear
still
with
like
me.
you.
I drove her crazy. Her hair's gonna turn gray.
I was saying, I
Okay.
had a long day with you.
So we're gonna try to meet your needs. We put it in now, we're running the numbers with your numbers in there.
Okay.
So unless something crazy, and we have to deliberate, and then it comes down to, again, what we can afford. But right now, it's in this numbers right now to work with you guys. Again, when we run through, and I don't anticipate any really big moves in any department, but then it comes down to that final mishmash
Yeah.
of what can wash out not. So what we have in there now is $60,000 for you to get a police officer, because that was a number we discussed, and 51,000.
Second police officer.
Yeah, the second. 51,000 is for the full-time dispatcher on top of what you have, because the benefits are a lot of money. So the part-time, if you can manage that, it would be a help to us, obviously, I mean, cost-wise, but if you can't find it and it's a real need, and Brianna's shaking her head like crazy here that she,
I just think it's impossible to find part-time work, and for the shift that you're trying to cover, I feel like you're better off. I understand try to find the part-time person, but if if it's the only way you can get that covered is by a full-time person, I just feel it's an important thing to have,
Right.
and it's an important position.
but we're gonna hold that in contingency on our side, so you try to do what you can do. I mean, if he passes budget, Brian, again, we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about all this.
Like, I mean, if you get
But
a
I wanted to
part-time
run the
person, great.
scenarios, before we even said anything, I wanted to run scenarios to see if it was even plausible. Right,
Yeah.
and it seems like we have enough teeth to get this done. Maybe we got to tweak a little, I don't know.
And you might find a great part-time person. I just
Right.
felt like you
Right,
should
no, no.
have that, maybe a little wiggle room, so that wasn't, because I can't find anybody to work for me for part-time, so I don't know how you can find a dispatcher. Like, my job.
It's probably not as,
Yes.
I don't want to shoot myself in the foot. It's probably not going to be as hard as hiring somebody because of those hours and the skill set. There are people who work in the field that would look for the additional hours.
Okay. Cool.
So I'm not saying
You shot
that
yourself in the foot.
that
No, just
I'm
kidding.
guaranteeing that we're going to get somebody. I just think that there's a good possibility, especially with the way the schedule is, that this spot, that the Manitou report and the committee, the ad hoc committee's recommendation made it so that we really need this hole on midnights filled, which is a 3-day-a-week hole on some weeks. And depending on the pay period, it could be like 5 days in a 7-day period, but it's just the way the schedule works. So we may be able to, there's a good chance we might be able to make it work with the part-time person. But like you said, we don't know until we try. And
So right now, like I said, and Eileen, you weren't here, they gave a presentation about their hours they're working. We've talked about this last night. Marcia and I ran numbers today, so we put the 60,000 into the budget currently, just to see where the numbers lied, and it came out good. Brianna had wanted us to cover a full-time in contingency in case they couldn't hire a part-time.
Yep.
So it's in contingency. So what we said is, right now, it's in until we do final deliberations. If it has to wash out, or part of it has to because of, at the end, but right now, it's in.
Okay.
So I don't know what else more I can tell you
No, I
on
appreciate
that.
that.
No, thank you.
That we understand the pressures on you. As a team, we all understand that. And it comes down to affordability, as we always talk about. And I know you guys, and Brown always says, you guys always try to find dollars for us. You guys look, and you always try to, on the overtime, you try to cut it down. You always are very good to us on your outside police fund, and trying to help us out if we're in a sticky mess. It's appreciated. I think all of us appreciate what you guys do. So, any other questions, or are we good?
Can we talk about capital, or is that not in this?
Hey, you can talk about capital.
I also have a question.
Go ahead, Naheed.
The department-specific supplies went up by 30%, and I know Marcia talked about it, some bullets that you need for your guns.
I'm sorry, actually.
The department-specific supplies.
Matt can speak to
The
it.
ammo.
The UTM.
The ammo.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah.
So is that just become expensive? It's like it went from 98,000 to 143,000.
Well, that line also is kind of the result of our changing to the universal chart of accounts. So where we had items before, now they're kind of compiled, so that.
But no, it's combined, we
Combine it,
retroactively
not-
combine them. So the big three things are training supplies. We're up quite a bit, but they all seem to be the same things, just new prices. And the KEW and the
UTM.
UTM.
UTM it's training ammunition, and when we first started this program, I don't know when we went to UTM, how many years ago it was quite a while.
10 years.
We had different weapons, so we had, they're actually kits that we replaced part of the guns with, so you can shoot these non-lethal, they're like paintball kind of thing, but they're accurate. So, and they are very expensive, but we had the equipment prior to like the last year budget, so we haven't been paying for that stuff. It lasts quite a long time. We've had it for years, and we originally bought a good solid quantity. I don't recall the number, but 5,000 or 6,000 rounds of ammunition, and it lasts a long time. We used a lot of it. But because we've changed weapons, our pistols and our rifles, that's at least 7 or 8 kits for pistols, 7 or 8 kits for the rifles, and then we have to buy all new ammunition and the ammunition because we have no line.
Okay.
The ammunition price is through the roof. I think it's 5 or 6.
The training
That was
weapons
last
cost
year.
almost as much
But the
as the real
training was
guns, if
included
not
in
more.
last year's, so,
We did the training, but
Right.
we used the last of any of the
Yeah.
ammunition,
okay.
and we changed weapons since that last training. So now we have to buy the pieces, and then we have to buy the ammunition. So it's a combination, perfect storm. But as soon as we have the equipment,
Yeah.
the only thing we'll need to buy moving forward is the ammunition. But what we buy now will last us several years. So it's not a 1 year.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, but what you're saying is when we budgeted for the new weapons last year, we knew there was gonna be costs for training equipment and ammunition, and we didn't include that? But we're forced to buy it now?
Yes.
So
Okay,
the
well, that-
numbers went up 30,000
So we
last year.
underestimated the cost last year. I'm not particularly happy about that.
We didn't, it's not that we underestimated the cost. We didn't anticipate that we were going to have to get these expensive kits we didn't realize what the cost was gonna be for these, new kits or replacement. They've gone up substantially, as has the ammunition for the same ammunition. It's gone up substantially that we were purchasing, so.
It sounds like we should have known we needed new kits if we bought new whatever, weapons.
We could have kept old guns and those kits and not gotten trade-in value for those weapons,
Well,
and we
Why
did.
do you want to train on old weapons? That wouldn't make sense.
Right.
That's correct.
But we
Yeah.
were at a threshold. I think that was a pretty significant cost, that the weapon purchase. And I think we were at a threshold where we didn't.
It was
think
$100,000, but
we didn't think we were gonna get it.
underestimating the cost so that it looks less is not a good way to do things.
Yeah.
I just feel that the 30,000 from last year and 50,000 from this year, it's almost $80,000. And I'm sorry, I'm a layman
No,
here,
no,
so
no,
I
no,
don't
that doesn't seem
understand.
right.
This is the
Much of it,
30
but-
that she's talking about,
Yeah.
the department-specific supplies, and I tried to write down what that was. The training equipment was 11 of it, the UTM was 8 of it,
Yeah.
KEW was 2,300, duty ammunition, and then everything else was 8,600, so
The,
that,
the training ammunition is the 79.55, not the 30.
Okay.
So that
okay.
was never. That's the most we will ever need to spend on that.
So that's a one-time spend.
The equipment is a one-time spend in there. I
Okay.
believe Marcia, is the ammunition in that number?
the
When you pulled it
ammunition
apart?
is, this is just the ammunition because we took out the kits and moved it.
The kids were last year?
No.
No,
we
they're
haven't-
part of this
we
year,
haven't-
so a different line.
New guns last year,
Yeah.
kits this year.
Correct.
Kids
What
this
Brian
year.
is saying is, when we did this, we should have had the guns with the
Mhm.
kits.
Right.
So it should have been,
Yep.
and then if we chose I think, is he's saying if we chose to do the guns one year and the kits the next year, that would be on us to man the money, Brian, right? Is that what you're sort of saying?
Yeah, right. If you're
We
committing
define this-
additional money, you know you're committing additional money by making a decision, and that's not known, then we didn't have all the information when we made a decision. I'm not
These,
saying the decision would have changed, you just don't want to,
right.
Yeah, I
Get
think
new-
it's just
new
for us to
information.
understand and for us to plan the future, we know how to.
The, the KEW, the kinetic energy weapon is an additional, it's a different tool altogether. It's a less safer tool specific for, you know.
That was a new purchase
That's a
this year,
completely new
Okay.
and the
system.
training
Okay.
and that ammunition for that.
That
But
wasn't
that's
a part of the
just- so-
new
But
compass.
there's only one of those? Am I reading that right? There's only one 40 millimeter.
That's an additional.
It's an additional one.
We already have.
So this ammunition, does it last 1 year, or is this 2 years, or? is it-
Multiple years.
The UTM, if you buy, probably, you know, I don't know what the number was in this, but a few thousand rounds, they last a long time, because we'll do scenario training and it's not,
So that number would go down next year?
Yes.
significant.
Yeah.
But it is
You
30,
would probably buy a case.
can we break the 35,000 into parts? Can we do it like small buys, or no, that doesn't make sense?
Well, they're separate things. It's
Actually, could you pull that up?
Can you bring the other
it's
thing up?
like four
Yes.
projects.
And we're being some trouble here because his link isn't working, but it's working for Brian, so I don't really know. What am I bringing up?
Just that
The
last
same,
screen.
yes, right there, yeah. So the 35,000, which is primarily ammunition,
Training equipment, primarily ammunition, all sorts of equipment. Okay, so.
That's
specific-
duty ammo, right?
Yeah, but I don't know that the duty ammo wouldn't justify the increase wouldn't be
56.
The UTM, the next line down,
Yeah.
that's the training pistol ammunition.
okay, that's the
Rifle
7,000, that's the
7,000.
7,000.
And then the KEW, kinetic energy weapon, that's the launcher, that's $2,000.
Yeah,
Duty ammunition, I believe that's
I just can't remember from the
additional,
top of my head.
All right.
additional cost.
I think the easiest way to break this down, and so we can understand
We
it,
could
maybe.
probably-
No, the easiest way to break this down is, with the new weapons that we purchased, what is the extra amount of kit that we needed for those, solely for the new weapons?
79.55.
Okay.
That's the
79.
No, that's the ammunition, and Marcia said that the equipment was parsed out. I don't know where that is in this.
It was $12.99 or something like that, and we asked you to pay for it out of your outside services fund, either in Steve's budget or the selectman's budget. So that's where the equipment is.
Okay, so
All right, so it's not in
79.55.
there, so, yeah.
okay.
So
So
that's
the 35,000 is,
just the
I think, what we have to kind of figure out what that is for. And if that could be split into the coming years, because I'm just thinking,
I think
What-
Marcia lumped a bunch of these different totals
into-
here
into
into
that-
that 35,
into
because
that-
there's not one
Oh, okay,
thing for 35. It's probably all of our duty ammo, training ammo, not
okay.
UTM. It's,
It's printer supplies, it's ammunition, it's taser training cartridges, it's the UTM rounds. It's,
But that, the only, I think the reason I'm asking is because it went up by $50,000. So what I'm saying here is that, no, $45,000. So if that, I'm just looking at the big number and saying, is there something that happened that we need to, so maybe we could,
And I'm sorry, because Steve is on the phone now, that when you're saying it went up from 45, I'm looking at budget to budget. Oh, and then Steve is on here too. That I'm looking at budget to budget, and you're looking, I think, from actual last year to budget next year, correct?
to budget next year.
Right.
Yes. So Steve did take 13,000 out, so it's at 130 now, so it's, 32,000, and it's about 33%. So what I've been doing is looking at the percentages and seeing if there's something that's really striking up, and that's why I asked you that question.
But if what they're saying, Nahid, is that it looks like the 35,000 is a bunch of little things that are making it
But
up. So
what
then
changed
that's
from last year to this year?
right. So we need to get a breakdown of all those 35,000 so you can see that,
Right,
because
right.
that's what you're focusing on. Then you need to know what goes into it.
But if you look at the history of this, right, let's look at the history.
Mm-hmm.
37,000 to 59,000 to 69,000 to 90,000. It increases 30,000 every year
Yes.
for 5 years. So if you look at the step increase of it going up for probably cost of ammunition and everything else,
Yeah, it's.
that cost is consistently up every year. It's not flatlined at any point. Like I say, 37, 59, that one only went up 9,000, but from 23 to 24
It's all
to,
this stuff.
to 20,
It's the year.
went up
20,
30,000
20.
prior year.
Okay.
So this is not like something
This
out of
is
step.
Yeah, it's
And it-
increased costs for,
And I know.
Ammo went up a
ammo was
lot.
through the
Yes.
roof.
Animal went up a lot.
And-
Afford to buy
Pulled
ammo.
out what
But
went.
Brian's
This is
point is
everything
absolutely
else.
right.
right, for the
Correct.
So-
UTM, yeah.
And we've hit every department on this, and we gotta hit a few more, and Brian's absolutely correct. Because, I'll give you another example, we had the fire departments, they bought trucks, okay? But they didn't remember the insurance or the gas and everything else. So even though it was just the cost of the truck and they dealt with that, we're dealing with the gas, the insurance and things like that, which we weren't aware of. And what Brian is saying is, we've had this now in a couple departments where things have been happened that we've approved, but we're getting a back end sting on it a little bit. And nobody's, accusing anybody of taking or advantage of anything, but it does also give a look that if we approved it at 100,000, it's really 130,000. And Brian has really been an advocate of this lately of, if it's 130,000, it's 130,000 and we gotta manage it. Brian, am I speaking correctly or not?
Yeah, we gotta have all the facts, absolutely.
We are getting to a point where we've worked through a lot of things, and to everyone's credit is, we're starting to really try to plan for the future. More than firefight, more than get through a budget year. Our mindset is, how do we maintain this now over 5 years and keep up with everything? And if these little things get left out, the next year we look at it, and like Nahid says, we can't keep fighting everybody's little closets. And you're not hiding it, but it's that closet that we're opening up. That there's 50,000 here, there's 40,000 there, there's 60,000 in insurance costs. And before you know it, we're at $500,000. And that's all. So I think that process, we just gotta, if something comes up and there is a cost, we gotta get it in there and try to figure it out.
And honestly, Glenn, to your point, it's gone up about $20,000 every year with the exception of 22 to 23 to 20 and 24.
Yeah.
And if
Yep.
we look at 20,000 and we take away the 31 that it's up,
And
it's
some
the
of this is
exact,
new
it's
kit.
the exact difference with from basically of the UTM and the KEW. So there's your answer.
All right, I think we're good. I think, Eileen, you have any questions? Mary, I'm sorry.
No, just, if we get new equipment, we obviously want everybody to be trained on it and have what they need to be trained, and, maybe if we know that up front, we could, plan for it a little better. And certainly, I hope we can get you guys, under 515, calls per officer. That's pretty high. I think.
And as always, whatever you can save and help us out, if you see something with the outside police fund, you can help us out, it's appreciated.
And
Go
we're
ahead.
grateful for all the
Thank
work you
you.
do.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
You
We
know,
know.
Steve
keep
is
us
on if
safe
you want to
and-
get his opinion, and if you could speak up because he's having a hard time hearing. Did you want, I didn't know if you knew that Steve was on. when you-
Hey, Steve.
Hi, Steve. We can't hear you, but that's okay.
You're muted.
I'll wave. Hi.
And just a personal note, I live on the corner, practically on the corner of Huckleberry Hill and Kenwood Lake Road, so occasionally you guys find your way over there. Response time is absolutely amazing all the time. Anytime
Thank
there's
you.
anything up there, you guys are there. Literally, not even 2 minutes later.
Steve, can you hear me? Nod your head if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can, but it's not great, Ryan.
Ryan.
I'm
That's-
sorry.
Ryan.
He
I'm a
definitely
little
can.
discombobulated. We lost our power here at 7 this morning and just got it back about an hour ago.
All right, we'll fill you in later on that, what we just think, and we'll move on forward instead of going backwards. So
Okay, no, go ahead.
you can hear me. So what
Yep.
what happened is Marcia recalculated the motor vehicles.
Well, Steve was gone for that. Steve, they passed the motor vehicle thing where they all go up 5%. Tammy and I worked on calculating it, and it looks like it'll bring in a significant amount of revenue for us.
You're on mute.
So can't hear him.
So it would bring in, if I understand it correctly, about 5% more. 325,000, is that right?
And we looked at it
If
today,
we choose,
about 500,000, that I had taken and put anything under the 20% as a $500 assessment, and it's really 20% unless it's under 5. So she helped me with that calculation, so we were up a little higher than we were yesterday.
oh, that's good. And is that a required legislation, or is it towns can adopt it if they want?
Towns can adopt it if they want.
And boards of selectmen have to
Okay.
approve it.
And
Thank you.
you'll have to approve it, and the grand list has to be to OPM by April 15th, so you may want a special meeting.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I
So,
agree. Okay, thank you.
In that process, just so you know, for our exercise, we put in, you gave a half an officer, and due to affordability, we're sliding in another half, the 60,000, to see if it'll run. So I knew you had the $500,000 concern of not having that revenue. And that's why you made some of the moves you made. So right now,
Yes,
we put it into the budget, Steve, and it'll be a final deliberation, but the numbers are working pretty good right now.
good, good. I agree with you doing that, Glenn. I agree with the board doing that.
So we told them we put it in. We didn't agree to it all the way. We wanted to talk to you, and we're gonna have a final deliberation, and with Brian being isolated a little bit too, we wanna have a final talk. But as of now,
Yes, I agree.
it fits pretty good with that extra 500,000 revenue.
I think it's a good idea as an exercise to put it in and then see where we end up.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, I think we're done then, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank you,
night.
guys.
Be safe out there.
Thank you.
Downstairs.
Sir, did I do okay?
Downstairs.
Well, we have a little disagreement.
A little one's good.
Little one?
You
That
can join
means-
us, you can
that
join
means
us.
we're
You're giving him 2, he needs 4.
I know.
You can't,
I'm trying.
you cannot equate safety
I
with
agree.
money.
We agree.
Response time is important, the officers are important. The worst thing they can do is go to a family dispute. She
Absolutely.
loves him, she hates him, lock him up, and all of a sudden that son of a bitch is the best guy in
We're
the
on
world.
TV. We're on TV. You gotta
No, that's the
keep it
truth.
down.
Listen, police work is not TV stuff.
Yes,
All right,
yes,
thank you.
We totally
Thank you.
respect that.
But we'll take 2.
All right. Let me go get the next crew.
Who's next?
EMS.
EMS.
Thank you.
No, that's fine, but I had to back up because I think I lost
Yeah.
my hearing in my right
Oh,
ear.
okay.
You're really loud.
I'll be quiet.
Okay,
We can-
perfect.
I'd be
Oh, no, I was
cool.
gonna say, if you have to scream for Steve to hear you, I will bring that down for you.
I don't keep my voice down.
No.
Yeah, but it's definitely where when you have a cold, things,
You know
weird
what?
things happen.
Yes.
Sometimes you hear too much in
Yeah,
one
it's
ear.
because I
Yeah.
have a cold and I can't hear. I'm like, what the?
It'll be good for me to be quiet.
Okay.
I might have to yell at these guys.
That's absolutely fine, but just go down.
Hello.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Where are squeezing?
Absolutely.
There's a handful, sorry.
Come on in.
Come on in.
Mr. Eric, how are you?
Very cozy here sometimes.
Good. Mr. Fraser? Sir? Mr. Wayne, you want to sit at the head of the table?
Sure, why not?
Mr. Lou? Howdy. Howdy. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks for having us.
3%.
No. What are you doing? No.
What did I miss here?
Um,
All right, so I asked, well, obviously you come in on every year. I asked Wayne to look at what could be done to see where he's at right now, what's missing, what is not in, what is in, to have a conversation here about where we stand. The ambulance is in, correct?
that is correct.
The new ambulance is in the budget right now. So that's not out. the pay increase is in, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
I don't wanna say it on the
No,
camera.
no, we're good. The
but
pay increase is in.
Not the full amount, but the, what you had asked for is the compromise amount.
The second amount that we agreed
Yes.
to.
Yep.
Yes, that's in.
Correct.
That's
Thank
in.
you.
So, part of that is when we had this conversation, and then we're going, well, let's start off the conversation with the ambulance and the trucks, and just so we have an understanding. With the ambulance, there's a lot of communication errors back and forth last year, and we didn't communicate all the well. We didn't have a great understanding of each side's view of what we did. Shame on us as well, you know what I'm saying? But I know they're long lead times, and I know that you guys felt the pressure, and you put down a deposit, and it's in. Going forward on this, we're not gonna go backwards. Going forward on this, we just gotta get tighter on that. We just gotta make sure we're all on the same
I
page.
think what's gonna happen if we stay with the 3 ambulance cycle, because that's where we're at right now, we're not even
Yes.
talking about 4 ambulances. If we stay on the 3 ambulance cycle, it's a 9-year cycle for replacements.
Yeah,
So we're looking at pretty much when the ambulance comes in, next ambulance comes in,
Yep.
we're gonna be looking at ordering one because it's a 2.5 to 3 year lead time. So we're figuring pretty much it's every 30 months is where 30 to 36 months is where an ambulance is gonna be ordered. So
that's different than what we discussed.
Yeah.
I think it was 9 years on the ambulance cycle.
But irregardless, let's not
Right,
go
so
back.
we, we can figure this out and hammer it out a little tighter, but they're pretty much projecting
Right.
a 2.5 to 3 year build lead time for an ambulance at this point.
I agree.
So,
Not going backwards, we're gonna go forwards. So the request then would go to the capital committee
Correct.
before we do anything. Then it would get reviewed through a process, and then it would go to the board of selectmen.
Right.
So I mean, there's no sense hashing out where we're at. I mean, the understanding it was gonna get extended life, but if it's,
It will if we get the support of the town to allow us to keep the ambulance that's being pulled out of primary rotation. That would be the next ambulance to be replaced. And once we have vehicles that are within their scheduled lifespan, that would extend the life of the ambulances going forward. Does that make sense?
yeah, we'd be looking at almost 12 years in a replacement cycle per unit.
Instead of
Instead of 9.
9.
So, and that would be in the long-term capital plan. That's got to get.
it has to make sense through Brian and their committee.
Yeah, yeah. So
before I can-
we gotta get the,
before I
yeah.
can
So
nod
just like you
ahead.
have the fire apparatus in there, we gotta make sure that that's tighter, especially on the like the paramedic fly cars that the department purchases, just so that's all out there, so it's visually, you guys can reflect on it easily.
Right, because
So-
what we're looking at is, we're really trying to plan ahead, and that's what we told the police, that, 5 years down the road, we wanna make sure we're good.
Yeah.
And everything, and every department gets taken care of, so it's not in the now, and that's why Brian is really taking on the capital committee and taking it super serious to the point where he's really putting the pieces of this puzzle together. And then Brian presents it to us, so Brian analyzes it, he looks at our debt, he looks at what we can afford, and he comes back and he says, hey, this is what we can do, what we can't do. And we try to be fair to everybody.
Yeah.
Then,
Absolutely.
Then on the
No,
truck side of this, y'all buy trucks and you guys earn whatever, you guys do more than we can imagine on a volunteer basis. But on the back side of that, there are the costs of the gas, the insurance. So we gotta understand, we just went through with the police on buying weapons but not ammunition, and they didn't put the ammunition in, and we're catching up on the ammunition. So you're not alone in this. But I think we're getting to a point in these budget times where we weeded out a lot. We've pushed these budgets down pretty low. Under Steve, we've really pushed down the budgets low. But now we gotta figure out what's a good budget. We've pushed you guys hard. We've pushed everybody hard. Now we gotta figure out what the levels are, but we can't figure out the levels if we don't know all the costs. So when a
Yeah.
truck comes online, we weren't aware of the insurance and the gas
Yep.
costs.
And we got
So-
one coming offline and.
Well, I'm gonna ask you about that.
Yes,
I want
yes.
that truck.
Yes, we have to have, there's 2 options, we can talk about that, so yes, but yeah, there's always a give and take to that, so.
I want that truck for Parks and Rec. So, no, I will say we thank you for all you do before we get in. I just wanted to clear the air, like I said, and also Marcia's gonna help you out now on the Munis side, correct? We're putting in the position,
We're working through that.
working through that, so we gotta get tighter. I know it seems hard for you guys to get tighter, but I think in the end, the tighter is gonna be better. And that's me speaking. I mean, I don't know if it is.
No,
That- that's
as long as we
Glenn.
know, the tighter we get, obviously there's margins, especially with revenue and stuff like that. As long as we have the support of the town and the selectman's office and the board of finance, and know that, as we increase, projected revenues, and if those revenues fall short, the fire company can no longer
Yep.
pay for that stuff anymore.
Yep.
So
No, we
we're
get
okay
it.
with increasing those and getting a little tighter and try to, we don't have those those buffers anymore, as you called them. We need a solid budget, so.
And my goal is to run lean, is to buy what we need, not to overstock. And
Yeah.
with supply management and over time, we've been doing our best to make sure that that is to a minimum, because it all comes down. I'm a taxpayer in this town too.
In fairness, we've swept the buffers out of every department. I mean, it's not you guys. The Board of Ed, we took a lot out in the first few years that I was involved. We took a lot of their pockets.
That's how
And
we
what
used to
we,
do everything.
what we've
Yeah.
decided to do is, under Steve, with this against Steve, we've gotten the buckets on the town side so we could support all the departments. Because if each department had a bucket, there's a lot of buckets. So we try to keep the main bucket here that we can help out everybody with. And we're here to support you. I mean, but it makes sense. If everybody had a bucket, the town has to pay more money in the taxes.
No,
I
no, it
mean,
makes sense.
and so we're holding it.
And for those of you that weren't involved in the conversation that Glenn had with them, or that we had, the revenue, we asked for the midpoint of the revenue, and it could come in higher, and it could come in lower. But that's what we do with all our revenue, is what the best guess is of the revenue, and we're gonna meet quarterly, and so if revenue's not coming in, we'll know about it, or if expenditures are higher, we'll plan, just like we do with other departments. And we've been meeting with Lou quarterly, but we'll add Fraser and Wayne, because they've got the handle on the payroll, which is the big chunk of this.
And I did send you this past week's payroll, and that'll be going forward. You'll be getting those as well.
I think that just helps everybody in the big process of these
Yeah,
things. And I know
absolutely.
it's a lot to let go, and I understand control, because I'm a control guy too.
No, like I said, revenue is one of those things. It's a
never gonna
moving
get it.
target. It's never.
You're not gonna get it.
One year you're good, one year you're high, and then one year it's slow.
You'll never figure that out.
No, never.
So
Never.
it's,
No.
so we understand that totally. So go ahead, Wayne, since I've cleared that, is there anything you'd like to say?
Well, I did prepare an opening statement asking for everything, and if you don't mind, I'll read it to you. And if you don't want to listen to it, I got copies for you.
Yeah, no, we would love to listen to you.
Uh,
No.
I don't know, you really want to listen. I don't want to listen to my
Glenn,
voice.
Glenn is on a power run today. I'm not sure what
No.
did you do.
I prepared this in not in expectation of hearing a little different news, but dear Board of Finance members, in 2020, the fire company leaders approached the first selectman with the need to improve EMS for the town of Brookfield, acknowledging that there was a lack of consistency in staff, a lack of leadership, and a lack of oversight from the staffing providing company, poor overall performance, and inconsistent staff who had little to no care or buy-in to do their best for Brookfield and the community it serves. We are entering year 5 of 5 of the year 5 of 5 of year plan to fix that. It was identified that many of the issues could be fixed by installing a person dedicated to improving our EMS service in leadership, working with staffing service to improve compensation to market wage, and select Brookfield-specific team members who will have the sense of ownership and pride, eventually taking over and employing the staff in either a department, Brookfield Volunteer Fire Company, or municipal capacity. We have gone to the employing through the Volunteer Fire Company itself, and it seems to be working well so far. Since I began my position, we have developed a vastly better culture to the team, pride in service, and more importantly, better clinical providers to care for our community. This includes better financial results due to accurate patient care documentation, which is then followed by a very stringent quality improvement process. 100% of our patient care records and our calls are reviewed for clinical information, demographic information, signature compliance, and overall care provided. With most of the initial concerns resolved, our remaining shortfall is wages and compensation for those staff members. The EMTs and paramedics remain low in market comparison for the areas from Waterbury to Danbury, Norwalk to Danbury, and Bridgeport to Danbury. Even the staff officers, otherwise known as the supervisors, remain well below market when comparing weekly salary versus hourly commitment to working the ambulance, covering on-call paramedic position, and performing additional administrative duties and assignments. Our staff remain $2 to $6 per hour, depending on EMTs versus paramedics, less than competing like services in our market and area. Our very small amount of turnover is not for performance or disciplinary reasons. It is a result of our staff advancing their careers to municipal fire services and nursing mostly. So we have people extending their education clinically to move on to bigger and brighter things. And I always like to say, I hate to see you go, I love to see you grow. Sorry, that was my ad.
Right, no, I liked it, but that's part of the nature of it, right?
That's part of the nature of it. I want people who want to learn and do better, and our two folks who left full-time to become nurses are still per diem with us. One is a paramedic and one is an EMT, so it's pretty awesome. We have dedicated people working with us that are some of the most skilled and service-oriented people that I've ever experienced in my 30-year career. I strongly encourage you to approve our budgeted salary increase as submitted, so we further retain those dedicated to service the town of Brookfield. And sincerely, Wayne B. Woodkey. You want copies of them? I brought copies.
I'm good. You read it nicely.
So I appreciate your support. My team appreciates your support, and the fire company appreciates your support. We will do everything we can to work collectively and cooperatively. You have my word.
You have ours too, I think.
I know that.
We've
I know
shown
that.
Mary, you have any questions you'd like to ask?
No, we just appreciate everything you do, and living on a busy road, I see your response times, and pretty awesome.
I appreciate it.
Oh, I did have a question. And it came up last night, and it came out, it's in public now, so it is what it is. You had $105,000 from prior, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, of surplus that we paid more than the services. 50,000 of that we put towards a new ambulance, correct?
Yes.
So
I
where's
would
that?
like to sit down with Marcia to find out about that, because the
Perfect.
depreciation portion in there that you mentioned, you know, that gets put in by our accountant sometime in the first quarter of the following fiscal year, which was like 300,000, and I think the fire maybe in 100 something in the other one. But I guess 4 or 5 years ago when we met with Tara and yourself, I think, you told us spend all of our money, you know, don't go over it, but spend it all, okay? And you can move stuff from one account to another. So if we were under here and over there, we could shift things around. So when we hit somewhere around early July, first week of July, second week of July, Sarah Ellis, who was handling the budget for a number of years, would go in and journal entry stuff out, because let's say we had 50,000 in there for vehicle expenses, and we were at 62,000. She would take 62,000 journal entry out of fire. We have in our accounting is fire, EMS, and org, which is the fire company itself, let's say. She would take those things out. So she took things out. So I gotta look to see if those journal entries came out, and if you then net the two of those things, are we back to where we were? But because we spent our money on things that went over in the budget in 2024.
Nobody's arguing about, like, we just want to.
We want to see if that's
Yeah.
where the difference is that
Right,
if
maybe
the
that
journal
100
entries came in, that
that
actually
100-some
were
thousand
funded
turns out to
correctly,
be
but it was
34,000.
numerically.
Whatever,
yeah.
no, it's not a matter of any accusations or anything, it's just a matter of.
I know, I'm just trying to.
No, I know, because it was like, when someone said that, my initial reaction was, well, where's the 50, it came out like naturally, where's the other 50,000?
Yeah. And that's where you just gotta compare the numbers to see, because if that makes sense, where if the journal entries and that accounting thing wash each other out, and it comes out that there's an overfund there, but there wasn't actually an overfund, we just need to verify that.
I did look, that in 2023 you did that, and which we asked you not to, because we don't want you to say, oh, we've got to not, pay the utilities out of here. We want the real costs. And so in 2023, I can see that the budget for the utilities was 20,000. You spent 25, and then you subtracted out 5 to bring it down to the budget, and that's what we said. Don't do that. I don't see any of those journal entries this year. in 2024, that I did see there was some adjustment at the bottom that netted out to $65, but I don't see any of those things coming out. The reason we would subtract out depreciation is we pay for the ambulances, and so we wouldn't want to pay and then reimburse you for depreciation, because then we're
Sure.
paying twice.
Makes sense.
And that
Makes
that
total
only
sense.
shows up in there after our
Yeah,
account.
makes total sense.
Correct.
It
Those
does a
damn
book.
accounts.
yeah.
So when you
Yeah.
get to see it in December and January for 24, there's that depreciation in there.
Yeah,
This-
and I think Steve was sending you a schedule of how we got to the, how we.
Yeah, I saw it, and that's where Lou wanted to sit down and actually go over with you and
Yeah.
kind of look at it just to see, because like I said, if it is what it is, it is what it is, and that's,
Just take it offline.
Yeah.
Take it offline, figure it out, and if we have the money, if it's somewhere, it's just an accounting thing, there's money there. Or if it got spent, just say it got spent on this. Show the Marcia where it
yeah,
got
at least
spent,
that's
we're
what we
good.
need to know, because once again,
That's
that's something
all.
that's.
This isn't.
Until Marcia and
yeah.
Steve brought it, that to our attention, that was not.
It was just a normal thing, like, there's 100, and we spent 50 of it. The normal reaction was, well, where's the change?
Yeah, no, yeah, I totally.
So,
Yeah.
not an accusation,
Yeah.
just.
No,
Yeah.
but that's good for us to know, because once again, if that's something that's the depreciation, that's something that we missed on our end, it's, we just gotta make sure we.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank
That's
y'all.
why I'm not good at math.
So guys, I had sent that analysis to Derek.
Yep,
Yes.
Lou and I got it, so we were looking it over, so we'll go offline and do it and circle back and we'll. Oh.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, no, they're still here, they're just off of
It's
the.
the team, it's the team, yeah.
Anyways, yes, we will circle back and
I guess there is a guy.
we'll let you guys know our finding from that. so.
Steve
Yeah,
speaks.
like I say, not an accusation, just let's tighten it up and appreciate everything you do. Now, since the truck was brought up, I mean, can you speak with Marcia tomorrow, Derek, about the truck, if there's a possibility of this and what we can do? Or if
Yeah,
there's no
it's fine. I just need to know what their needs are. I have two options, so
Marcia, can you, Derek will
I'm
reach
here.
out to you about the truck?
I'll call you tomorrow.
And we can maybe
Yeah,
figure out
like that.
some kind of way to work that out.
Yeah,
Because it would be appreciated in some kind of manner. Anyone else? Derek, anything? Derek, you gonna add something? Go ahead.
I know there's no other changes for EMS. I just question
There was one change that I hadn't had a chance to review health insurance, and I thought the budget was $8,000 too low. That I had done a big schedule, and so the Board of Finance will see that we added $8,000 as your adjustments, since they're your adjustments. I wanted to tell
Into
you
your
that.
budget.
From the meeting that we had, that we discussed the other day, or the email that we got
The email,
from
so.
Monday?
From Monday, that I took and I scheduled out the 18 months or so of health insurance.
There's an
Then
error
there's
in it.
one person that I knew of that was getting a reimbursement. It was lower than we thought. The other person I didn't know about, but the two added together to be the same number.
Frazier, what's the error?
So in your schedule, you have Highland all the way through to the end, and she's off of the insurance. So you have an extra person in there, and it came out to about $7,000, $774.
There you go.
I will.
Screw the 8.
That was the November.
Okay.
But is someone
reimbursement for-
replacing her?
No, that's in.
She was already replaced.
She was already replaced. So the number that I.
So your number's right.
So the number that I gave you, I think when we did it based on, because you found another deduction in there that we didn't have that night when I did it, I will email it to you tomorrow. But I believe that $8,000 is like 300, not 8,000.
Okay, so we'll make it right.
Yeah.
But you can see though the process working where she double checked your numbers and said you look shy.
Yeah.
And she
Yep.
put the money in to make you whole. And that's what I'm trying to say
Yep.
is this partnership of we're looking out for each other. Hopefully.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so
Oh,
you
yeah.
put in a number, Marcia analyzed the number and said, doing the right, she didn't know the person wasn't gonna be out, but she tried to make, okay, if this person was here, she added in the 8,000, so it was in there. So that's what trying to work together is gonna help us all out.
And it's difficult to remember all these things when we're talking about the meetings, and that's why I sent the clarifying email on Monday. But I can't imagine you're a little busy or anything at this time.
Yeah, we deal with our department.
I don't
we deal
envy
with them all,
anybody
so we
doing
get it.
budgets, so.
I'm on call tomorrow. I will go into the office. I will clean up what I did and send it back to you so you can double check it.
That's fine. That if you're fine with it, I'm fine with it. That within $300,
Yeah, I think that's about what it comes to. So I will double check it. I will email it to you so you can double check what I did. So
Okay.
so we're good.
Okay. I think that the end result is we want to do the finances for you guys and help you, and you guys save our lives. How's that? I mean, you got enough on your plate.
You
to
save our
us.
finances, we save your lives. Is that fair?
Yeah. Good? We good on
Okay with
that
that.
note?
Now there's the other side of the coin. Yeah.
There's gotta be a definition in there that says that's illegal. Somewhere.
You don't
I
have
guess
to
it does
put
sound
up
kind of
bad,
doesn't
fires. It's a mess.
Derek, go ahead.
No, we're not discussing anything on fire. Just question on capital, was the air compressor, SCBA compressor, approved for the capital for this year?
We haven't gone over capital.
Okay.
Didn't
know if that was
I can tell you
just-
where it stands now, but,
Oh, is it the SCBA compressor?
SCBA compressor.
It's in here.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
We attempted 3 years of AFG grants to get that covered by AFG, and they denied us for 3 years. So, unfortunately, it just has come to the point where we have a thing that says we're not allowed. We shouldn't be using it anymore.
It's not unfortunate, it's just part of business. It
Well,
isn't
like I
unfortunate.
said, we
It's-
try.
Well,
We
you
try.
tried, you
We
tried.
try to go the grant route, and sometimes you win them, and sometimes you lose. So,
but you had said that one time that you did get that grant, it was, it helped you, Candlewood,
and
and
in Milford,
Milford.
$700,000 I think
Yeah.
it was for the air packs and
and
the meters. So,
We have that with other grants too, if you, that you're more likely to succeed with a regional approach, so maybe start thinking now
That's-
of what.
there's some new chiefs in the area, and that's one of the things I think we're going to be approaching. We have the area fire chiefs coming in for next month, and that's going to be one of the things I want to try to start discussing with them when everybody's starting to look at making larger purchases. If we start doing this as regionally, that's where the grants are starting to get approved more. And once again, if we can take that tax burden off the taxpayers, that's what we want to do. So.
Steve, can you hear us still?
Yes, they're still here, they're just not on that.
Is he swimming or?
Sorry.
All right, never mind.
Could you say that again? I didn't hear.
They're gonna start looking for regional grants to try to get for equipment, because I think you found that out too. Sometimes it's easier to get a regional grant than a local grant. Now, how experienced you guys at doing grants? I mean,
So Sarah has done our grants in the past, and she did the 2 years of the SCBA for the SCBA compressor, and then we paid $1,500 to Mission CIT. And Mission CIT, they do grant writing. That's their thing that they do. So,
Okay.
and that's another place to reach out to that we can look at doing too.
can they reach out to Greg since he writes a lot of grants too, Steve, or no?
Yeah. Greg does write a lot of grants. I know that Sarah has done a lot for the fire department
I'm
before.
just
She's
saying as a
really good at
resource.
that.
Yeah.
We
they
can
need
get the
resource.
staff to help.
Yeah.
Greg writes a lot of grants. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what he does. So he might, just as an extra
Who's
resource.
Greg, by the way?
Dombrowski.
Yeah.
Oh,
He writes all the
yeah, I know.
grants
He
for all
runs-
the
he
town
does all the
stuff and
town stuff.
everything. So
I know
he's
him well.
very, maybe not for fire equipment, but he's
Yeah.
very experienced in general grant writing and for regional grant writing. So
No, and that
maybe
takes an act.
if you could utilize Greg, and I'm utilizing your staff, Steve, sorry.
Hey,
No,
listen.
that's fine. That's fine. We're
Once again,
more than
if
willing
we
to
use
help.
him and not have to, put out $1,500 or $2,000 for a
You
grant
still might
writer,
have to,
yeah.
but maybe Greg
Well,
can
yeah.
get you at a point
Yeah.
where and we're getting it to very comfortable. So appreciate it. All right.
And not only is he just good at grant writing, he's very successful at getting money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said,
We've probably brought in $2 million. We've got
I know you have.
command
Yes.
vehicle over there. We got from the federal government, all of those air packs and so forth.
Yeah.
Turnout gear we've gotten a number of times.
Here. Yeah.
Oh, we
So,
appreciate
a lot of
it. No, we do appreciate
Grants
it.
are great when they're available. It's
No.
you got to try to jump on them. Canada's been trying to jump on them. Canada got one for training 2 years ago, I believe. They got like all their training covered. So
We know you all go to do that for us. I was just trying to give you an extra resource.
Oh no, I'll take.
Yeah.
Listen, any resource. Listen, not all of us are experts on everything. That's where we rely on people from the town that do this stuff. That's what we want. So
All right, y'all.
we
Go on,
appreciate.
go on,
you all
get
for
on to your
everything.
lives.
Oh no, board of directors meeting.
I'm
so.
sorry. What's the bottom line here on this now? What are we winding up with?
The
Increased
same as
percentage
the
or?
same as the schedules that I sent you on Sunday.
Okay, that's
changes.
it. There are no changes since
No
then.
changes.
We
No.
tried to give you more, but.
Okay.
Hey, listen, I want to be, listen, we take that money out of there, we're
Hey,
great.
you know what? You gotta give a little to get a little, right?
That's what you gotta do.
You know what? I'd rather
Whoever's
be
in next,
honest.
tell them they can take
I'd
that
rather
money.
be honest with my numbers
Good
than.
boy.
If you're honest with the numbers, and we've been with every department, if there's a crisis, that's what we have our contingency fund
Yeah.
for. If there's a true crisis, it goes to Steve, Steve
Yep.
brings it to the Board of Selectmen,
No,
and we figure it out.
And that's how
Right?
it's always-
Crises are
yeah.
crises, and we're all here for it, so.
We had 2 large apparatus failures that one year, and you guys stood by your word, which is, you know, come to us for those random catastrophic failures, and we'll help you out, so.
Perfect, all right, thank you all.
Thank you,
very
we
much.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Have a good night.
All of
Stay
it.
Thank
safe.
you.
Stay safe.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, Glenn and team, I'm gonna drop.
All right, thank you.
Bye, Brian.
Okay,
Bye,
thank you.
Brian.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
And I apologize for being on my phone. I have 2 parents in the hospital. So I'm just
Oh.
getting updates. They're fine. They're
Okay.
very-
All right, Brian, you're going,
Yes,
right?
Brian's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah, Brian's leaving.
Thank you.
It's just frozen on the screen.
Maybe he left.
Yeah, I think he has left. It's just pictures that's still sitting there.
Yeah, he's not moving.
No, he's not moving.
All right.
I'm leaving too, guys.
Okay.
All right.
See ya.
Bye, Naheed, thank you. Okay, 7 o'clock, we accomplished a lot
We
already.
did.
I
Huh?
must have gotten those
We have,
first.
we have never done those 2 that fast.
No.
He was in a row. What did
So
that-
Steve, also, what we talked about is, we noticed that Park and Rec needs a truck.
That's correct.
The fire department might have an extra truck.
Is it a truck or is it a?
I've heard that.
They might be willing to work with us to ease that, so we can work on a Bobcat possibly for Parks and Rec, who need the Bobcat.
That would be great.
So
That would be
we're,
great. That would be a great solution.
so we're trying to find solutions.
Yeah,
So.
we'll figure it out.
Last night, we went through some departments, or smaller departments.
No, it's okay.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. We went through some of your smaller departments last night, Steve. They went up 1%, a couple of them. We sort of just went through them. They're no big deals. I think we'll go to the exercise next. I spoke with Marcia today a little bit on moving some monies around.
Okay.
Last night you weren't on, we discussed, the night with the Board of Ed, we'd also discussed moving money out into their budget, and I think Brian made a suggestion, and I don't know if you were there, is we should fully load them so the town sees exactly what their expenditure level is. When we put it in the contingency side, their budget's 3.8, but if you put the real costs in, they go to 475. Now,
Yeah.
they came out and said they wanted flexibility, and we're going to give it to them, but they're not. It might not be quite what they want, but that's the reality of this. So,
Right.
Marcia and I ran some scenarios just to see where we stand. So, what we did is we changed the contingency on your side. We got 500,000 of extra revenue, which we told you about earlier. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I know that
Right.
this is coming on you and I apologize, but this was all moving today. And I gotta say, I'm sorry, but I wanted to move this ahead.
No, that's all right. I would have caught up with Marcia today, but I had no power, no Wi-Fi, no cell service, nothing until about an hour ago.
No worries.
So I think you would be happy that we're trying to move along here a little bit and get this so you
Yeah.
can look at it. So what we did is we took a lot of money out of the contingency. So the contingency, it was 650, right? We took out, how much we take out?
We took out about 400,000.
We removed 400,000 from that contingency. We moved that to the Board of Ed to cover that 622 shortfall that they showed us.
Right.
So we increased their budget 422. What do we increase their budget
We
by?
increased their budget by the special ed that they're 90% or more sure, 625.11.
We're still gonna probably wean a little bit of that back out of there because they're gonna have to deal with it. They're gonna have to figure it out. So we moved the 60,000 into the police that we talked about. Brianna asked if we could keep 50,000 in case they couldn't get a part-time dispatcher, in case they were forced to get a full-time dispatcher, we could cover it. But they're only gonna get in their budget the part-time. But we have an amount,
Right, okay.
if push came to shove, if they needed that dispatcher, we have enough to cover that.
But he seems a little
Okay,
more
that makes sense also.
shockingly more confident.
Right, he's confident though that we can, but it's not gonna hurt us to have a little bit in that contingency anyway for that. We moved money into
You
OPEB.
want,
We moved money into OPEB as well. We took some money and moved it into the retirement a little bit to help cover that. I know what you did, I understand what you did, but I'm a little more comfortable feeding it a little.
How much did you add in?
yeah, I understand how you feel about it, and I agree with you in principle. We were just faced with
Yep.
a really hard situation. You and I have talked about this. You know, if we get much over 4%, the residents really balk at it, right?
So
if we
the-
got another 500,000, that makes it a lot easier.
Correct. So the number that when we moved all this around, and you're obviously going to be part of the final process of this, is right now with the numbers that Marcia and I played with, we are at what number?
But you took money out of the Board of Ed in this.
We took
number.
some money out of the Board of Ed, yes.
So we are at 3.66. I took out, what did I just change?
3.66 overall.
Wait, what did you take out of Board of Ed?
250 right now because they're at 475.
Okay.
They're at 475 increase. They're over
I haven't
5.
looked at it in detail, because I haven't had access, but Marcia, can you send that to me, and then I'll give you a call.
But this
in the
isn't.
morning
This was
to go
just
over
this
it.
exercise.
So you're saying
Huh?
they're still at 475 after you did the 250?
That's after the 250. We gave
Got
them it's a 622. Took 250 back. They're still at 475, which is higher than what passes. So I think
Yeah.
we gotta push the 475 or not. Even maybe give a little bit more, but it's gonna be hard. It's gonna.
I feel like Brian's statement keeps coming back, right? Which is that, you know, maybe because we were putting it in contingency, the thought process that continued to be floated out was, you know, they're underfunded. They're always coming and asking for money. Whereas Brian said, you know what, maybe it's better to say this is truly what they're needing to apparently operate with SPED and everything else that's going on in their budget. Now you, as the taxpayers, they see it as a whole and they say, this is what they're asking for. You know, maybe that in that case is and Brian, I'm not speaking for, but I kept listening to what he was saying. I was like, you know, I could see how people who aren't involved with this can not understand that, well, it was their money, it was sitting contingency, we held it, they came and asked for it, but maybe because it's looking that way, and then we shove it all in at the end, they're not putting it all together, whereas this is what they truly need to operate. I know we were all talking about finding different ways to figure it out.
Can I ask a question? Do we have an understanding with the Board of Ed that if these special ed expenses don't actually materialize, that funding will be returned to the town?
Not as of now, but they wanted complete flexibility.
We really don't I mean, we've had
Okay.
2 years in a row where it's been hundreds of thousands of dollars over the.
Yes.
And so we don't really anticipate that that's going to change. I mean, so, Bill's
I agree.
looking at programs and seeing, you know, what could they do to change, but that's a longer term solution. That's not gonna happen here.
That's like
No, that's gonna be 2-3 years down the road. Right, realistically.
Yeah, so our safety valve in that would have been not fully funding the, you know, say they think 4 special ed kids might be going, we would fund, you know, 3 of them and hold back
Okay.
1 in
And
contingency is a
also,
way to go with that.
Glenn, you brought up a good point, which was we should all, when Brian is not on Zoom and Steve is back, we should
Oh, no,
call
this was
the
a
Board of
conversation.
Ed
I just wanted to
back,
see-
and we should sit down with them and run it again, since I was out, Brian was out.
If we hit 5, the town's not voting it in, especially if the town's coming in at 3.
Yep.
Or 3 to change, they're not gonna vote that in. So we gotta come up with a number
Right.
that does pass. Otherwise, we're gonna be in a virtual circle.
Right,
Uh,
but if the town, you know, also gets to have a say. We're 6 people, like we always say.
It should go to vote, I agree. I mean, where's your concerns? I mean, I get it, it's gonna be tight for them, but that's the only place where there's real hard money.
My only concern is what I keep hearing in the conversation is, if we give them the money and they still go over, then tough luck, they have to find it, and I don't think that's the right mentality. There are things that are out of their control with students coming into the system, and, I mean, we're seeing that their budget drivers are things that are predominantly not in their control, and so to then just say you have to deal with it is a little bit tough. I don't.
But also in the past when we've said things and we've cut things like we did with that, the budget failed, the school budget failed, and then we were trying to listen to everybody writing in, and so we took out the same amount of the dean of students, and then the dean of students miraculously was hired and appeared, and everybody was fine. So I feel like they continue to prove time and time again they can figure it out. But, maybe this is like,
they did a budget freeze and they've frozen $150,000 this year to try to help cover that gap. So,
Agreed.
There is effort on their part to try to meet that, at what expense?
My thing is, and I'll be bluntly honest, is we assumed all the risk. They weren't happy with that. So if you're not happy with that, you got to assume the risk. You can't have the cake and everything and then say, the risk still sits on the town side. We want everything we want, but the town's got to assume all the risk. It's part of a partnership, and the partnership worked. They want to break the partnership.
I think we can find a middle ground. I mean, at the finance committee meeting, and we talked about this at other meetings too, that, they're coming in every year and they're budgeting based on the actual known students that are costs that they know.
Because we
But they
asked them
also,
to.
yeah,
No,
because
that's a
that's what
fact.
we've agreed to. But they've also known going in that we have 4 kids on the horizon that we think are going, like, we're 99% sure, or we're 70% sure. So they already went into that school year, like, even before we finished with the budget process, they went into that scenario knowing we're already probably going in $200,000 under, because they knew that there was a pretty good chance those students were going in. So my thought, we adjust that schedule so that we're accommodating these students that we're pretty sure are going to end up in an outplaced situation, that we're covering that cost, but that doesn't necessarily mean something else isn't going to change. And I think, we're still budgeting for mostly the knowns. It's just that we're giving a little more leniency that we're at a 70% rate of knowing that this student's going to cost more versus not considering them at all in the budget number.
But that's a communication problem as well, though, because in prior years, if they knew 90% was going, why wasn't that brought to their
Because we were
attention?
told, we've kept telling them, only budget on the numbers that you know for certain. So they were going off of what we were telling them. We know that we have 20 students that are going to be transported or whatever.
And new cases can crop up mid-year.
Yeah.
But in 2019,
Agreed.
when they asked for, when they asked for an 8% raise and we gave it to them, and then it failed twice and we cut 500, and then they allocated 85,000 for bonuses and salary to administration that wasn't in the original budget. There are times
I'm
where.
not saying that there aren't.
So, right,
But I
so-
think, when we're looking at hundreds of thousands that
But we're,
can happen.
I think to me, I was not present, but I was listening the entire time. I felt that the message, and again, one's perception is their own reality. I felt the message was very clear that it was more of a, we don't want to work together. We want to kind of manage it on our own. That's kind of how I took it. Maybe, again, I was at home, I wasn't
Yeah.
here. It's a much different perspective when you're not in person, which is why I said to Glenn, we should have them back and we should figure this out when we have a full board here.
Yep.
But that was there are things that just pop up in my mind that I have trouble forgetting.
Seriously, I'm gonna be honest, what pops in my mind is they wanna have everything their way, make all the decisions, but yet come to us for money that they don't want any risk on. Risk, we actually shouldn't have taken on the risk we took on. We took on a lot of risk. We could have had $1 million worth of risk that we took on and we supported, and that's not good enough for them. that is not good enough for them, that we're assuming huge amounts of risk. So if you want to have all the flexibility and the cushions and the be able to move things around, you got to assume some of the risk. And so for me, it's very simple. Here's your money, there's your risks. If there's something that really comes up out of whack, you can come to us, but you got to figure out a way to manage it. Now, something out of the ordinary. Now, if you're telling me the truth, that you think that they still knew there was kids, but we messed it up in our communication, you're saying, Glenn, we said only the ones you knew. But they knew of 2 or 3. They started off the whole 2. We're already giving them 400,000 more than what they had. So they're not in that hole now.
Right, and
So now they're right where they should be. So,
but that's,
but you can't have the flexibility with where you should be and everything else. So, gee, there's risk. We're taking risk. You wouldn't hold this risk on a company level.
but I thought
For-
I thought we had discussed in our playing around with scenarios that we then give some of the money, we're not going to say, you know, if it's not 100% certainty that these kids, that all the scenario of 4 kids going in, that we have, they said 99% sure that one of them is going in, and if it's a 70%, we give a portion of it, but not everything. So we're not covering the
Okay.
cost of 4 kids getting outplaced, we're covering
Okay.
the one that's a 99% and then some portion of these others that we think are going through, that still puts them in, I mean, if those 4 kids, if those other 3 kids do definitely go in, then they're already at a shortfall going into the school year. And so that's where I'm not saying that we assume the whole risk, but I think we still need to consider a cushion to cover the other 40% or the next kid that comes in that they didn't know about. I mean, that's that offset, we've seen it, we're seeing $100,000 for a kid with a program in
150.
That's kind of transportation.
150.
Yeah,
It's 150.
150 for a safety.
I know that it's
yeah.
150. I don't think they're lying on that number.
Yeah,
So
no.
let's be firmly clear. I
Yeah.
don't think that's a fudge number. I think
Right.
the 150 is a real number.
Yeah,
But the whole attitude of all this flexibility and that we don't help them out, it's like, you gotta get over this.
I
And
think
maybe
that
I
was
gotta get
a
over this,
one-off
but I gotta,
misspoken.
but that's not been the tone of all of the other meetings that have come in.
but
And they don't wanna
also
pay
though
hundreds of
is the
thousands
tone
dollars
of
off.
half of the town saying we should cut them $1 million. I get texts all the time, cut
I've
$1 million.
seen no public comment.
I get told all the time $1
That's
million.
great, but we've had nothing come to
I
the Board
agree,
of
and I don't
Finance.
think $1
It
million
says cut $1 million out of
I
it.
don't think that's realistic, by no means.
Yeah.
So I'll say that in public. But I don't feel that no risk on their part to put it all on the town is not fair to the town. They want all of it to go their way. They want to have a complete, which they do, a complete say of extra money so they can move their pieces around, even a little bit more, like I say, than what I think, and still have the cushion of whatever we do, throw it into special ed. And it's, I think, what we've done has worked in the past. Maybe it's time. And the fact is also that Brian brought up is, when we keep it on our side, that's not their true budget.
Right.
So the town is voting on a school budget of less than 4%, but really it's 4.75%.
Yeah.
So the town is, we're sort of telling the town, oh, their budget's under 4, but it's 4.75.
Now, the other side of it is that they're coming in looking like they've overspent their budget every year within the first month of school. And that's good optics for them either, when it's not something that they had control over. So, you know, we're kind of seeing the glass half empty, glass
Yes.
half full.
I won't disagree with
I think
you.
we're saying the same thing.
I-
So that's where the partial solution could kind of maybe be a
Yeah.
good bridge here and see how
I
it
will
plays out.
not go for partial. I won't go for partial without a cap. Without a hard cap of like $100,000 or $150,000 hard cap. But we're still taking more than the 250 out then at that point. There's gonna be, or maybe only take 250 with 150 hard cap.
I think their numbers have to be realistic.
I
I really truly believe that's a big thing. And I'm with you on that, I'm not a hard cap.
just to protect the town.
I
mean,
wasn't saying an
I know
open,
you were.
I
I know
wasn't
you
saying
were.
an
I know,
open
I know
purse
you-
for
I know
any
you.
other thing that
No.
comes up.
I know you.
But what I was hearing was that there was going to be no consideration that if they end up.
Well, I did say that because I just got really upset about no flexibility. And I think we're very flexible. I think we're more flexible than any town with the Board of Ed. Newtown's laying off 25 teachers. We would not allow 25 teachers to get laid off in Brookfield, right? We'd figure it out. And I don't think any town there's Danbury's laid, every other towns have laid off. We've not allowed anybody to get laid off. So I don't think that.
We've also not always pushed to figure it out. we figured it out for them. We have not pushed to figure it out.
I mean, great conversation. I agree with, I see your side,
Good,
and
I
I do
agree too.
sympathize you. So, all right, so let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Right now, what's in the Board of Ed budget, we moved 450,000 into the Board of Ed budget.
And then you took out 250.
We put 620.
620.
Oh, we put 620.
Yes.
That wasn't my intention.
And then I took 250 out.
Right, my intention was not 620. It was the known, because 620 was the whole.
The whole nut.
Yeah, but that wasn't my intention. It was the whole for the 99. Yeah, that's the piece of paper. I don't
So this was where the 620 came from.
Yeah, no, my intention was, I think I came out with 400, so we gave like 100%
Oh,
for
good,
the
I
90.
could take 51,000 then.
Because I said like 100, the 100% of this 99% probability, and then, if these other
But-
ones are 95, 90%,
but-
but take a percentage of that, so not give the full 620, but I think we came up with, I think Nahid and I had said like 50% of the rest of it. So
But I
it's-
don't want an open checkbook on the backside if we do this. They gotta manage it now. That's how I feel. I mean, I don't wanna see, that's only my opinion.
Yeah, no,
That's
I mean,
not-
that's
that's
the
not-
conversation, we have to have that conversation
Right.
with them.
Yeah.
Right, and I think Brian
Well, I
and
don't think
he are
it's
here.
them either. I think it's us that have to make a decision. They gotta, we listen to them,
Yep.
understand it from them. But I don't, like I say, that attitude that came in here, the flexibility is an attitude that we are flexible. But you can't have everything and then take everything and then without the liabilities.
And-
So moving 622 over and bringing back 250 is a big chunk of money.
Yeah,
We're already, from the Republican side of this, we're gonna get so much argument from that. But in the big picture, I see where this does save money if we have a hard cap and they gotta figure it out. It puts pressure on them to figure it out,
yep.
okay? It puts the pressure on them not to have this open, that they have to make decisions maybe a little bit different.
Mhm.
But they're gonna come in at 475 with this number.
And that, with
That's
that
with the
number or
250
without-
out, that's with the 250 out, their 475 increase. So when you start getting, I told you, that 4 number's scary. When we start getting at 475, and poor Steve on the other side, we put these contingencies in this budget, everybody said Steve's town budget is way up, and he's holding $400,000 on it for the town side. So he's holding a percentage on his side that it looks for the increase. So now right now, the school is at 475.
And that's with the health insurance increase also.
Right. Which is, when you have that two-way budget process that says town vote pass, the school pass, 475 is a hard pass.
Hello.
They could bring the baby in, Steve, we'd love to see.
So, I mean, that's, so I apologize, we did move 620, then 250 out, so there's a big chunk of change over
Yeah.
there.
Wow.
And then we removed it down with the thing, and our overall, what'd you say was right now, I mean, now we got a massage, but our overall budget right now is 355.
The 366.
366. So, right now, that's a number I think we can pass through the town,
Mhm.
that 366.
My other question,
Go
that
ahead.
475 is over budget to budget, or is that actual to budget?
That is, the 475 is,
Increase?
a budget is down here. It is budget to budget.
So if you throw in budget to actual, it's a very different number.
No, this is budget to ask. This is the increase
This
to
is
ask.
Last year's budget to this year's budget is
Yeah.
the 4.75.
Oh, yeah.
This year's
yes, I
actual to
apologize.
this year
I
to
apologize.
next
Yes,
year's proposed
but-
budget is a very a much
Correct,
different
and you're right. I apologize. We have to figure that out.
Because we
Yes.
held the money in contingency, their numbers aren't real.
Correct.
Because,
Yes, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right.
yeah.
But
So-
now it's real.
So for the taxpayer, it's a 4.75, but their year-to-year budget increase
It's
is
still over
not.
4.
Even when you add in what the appropriation might end up being?
No, it'll be less than 4.
Yeah,
Because we're talking about.
because that's what they present, I mean, I
they're
don't
talking-
think their presentation included the higher health insurance number.
No, it'll still be over 4. Because the
Not as
difference
a-
is 450,000, so it's on the budget process, it'd still be under 4, it'll still be over 4.
So they were short 550 or so was what we were gonna pay. I would ignore the the amount for, electricity, even though we're gonna pay that because it was a one-year thing.
Yeah.
So 550 is what they were short with special ed, so it would be 350.
Because there's 200 they got.
Which is supposed to be approved, it was approved by the House today, and it's supposed to be approved by the Senate tomorrow. So if we were to say 350, 350 or 35.
One more zero.
It would be a 4.06.
So they're still over.
They're still over, but it's a much less.
It's not much,
over.
much less over. It's-
And that,
yeah,
the
I
350,
agree.
Marcia, was the healthcare?
Yeah.
But that's with the 250 out.
No, 350 is the special ed.
Oh, right.
Minus the state, assuming that 200
Yeah,
passes.
my thought was give them 400, which is about the same as what you can give them 620 and subtract 150. We're off by
No, 250 I took out.
250, sorry. We were off by 30,000.
Okay,
I mean,
you guys are-
30,000.
you guys are pretty
It
close.
was only exercise. I don't want you to think,
I
I don't want
but,
you to.
No, but my proposal had been put in 400 of
Right.
additional special ed, not 620. And you
Okay.
just took out, you added 620 and took out 250, which is a $30,000.
I
difference.
thought,
Back to
and
400.
I'll explain why I did some of this, is I thought last night when we were sitting here, when we had the numbers up, we had a good conversation.
Mhm.
We saw what moved, and last night when the four of us were sitting here, when we moved, or the five of us,
Yeah.
when we had the numbers and had the percentages come out,
Yeah.
it brought up better conversation.
Oh, definitely. No, I'm okay with it. And what does the summary look like with, what is the total?
366.
366, this is what I'm saying, I mean, now we have some fine tweaking, I mean, we're at a point.
I think I'm missing some adjustments.
No, you
Yes.
are. She
Yes.
made, you'll get this from
Got it.
March. This was, again, like I said, last night I sat here and I
That's still
assessed
good.
our meetings, and I said,
366,
when we sat here comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and looked at the thing and moved the numbers, we could see what we were doing and figured out where we could land safely and what we could do.
And that's,
We had talked about the police as a group,
Mhm.
right? And then
Yeah.
I had said, Marcia, put that in so we could see it.
Yep.
You know, Brianna had talked to me about, let's make sure if we don't have it, we put this aside that when it gets, so all of these things I worked with Marcia on so we could look at it this way.
Yeah.
And I threw in the number and then I took the 250, we're at almost like you said, the same number.
Yeah.
I do- We have a little difference of agreement on the cap or whatever, the
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
and we can work through that as a group.
Yeah.
we always
I mean, I
do.
think
Right.
the other piece is like, we haven't talked about, they have kids that end up getting back integrated into the
They
school.
do,
So that's, it's almost like the teacher.
And
turnover
some of them,
savings.
and some of them
And
age
so I
out.
don't think, well, they got hit hard with the aging because they increased the age.
They
So
increase the age, that's
There
right.
is, next year, I think, is when they'll start to have
Right,
kids
but
drop
you do
off.
have kids circle back in, which
Yeah.
is helpful.
So, I mean, I think we can consider that, because I'm not sure if that's it might be considered in their numbers, it wasn't spoken explicitly about, that they might have students
We could
coming back
consider-
in,
we
and
could.
that reduces the cost, and
Correct,
like I said,
100%.
almost like the teacher.
And it really looks like this, Bill, I think he seems like he really is trying to move
Bill came
this-
up to me and said he'd like to do the things and see what he can do.
Yeah.
Steve, I don't know if you can hear too, and Brian had asked me to last night or today, I don't know.
Mhm.
Brian had asked me if you could talk to John, if Brian could just look at bills like transportations and things, not as an audit, but as a friendly eyes to see if he can analyze some things financially to see if there's something there he sees. And maybe have Casey there as well, I don't know. But Brian had asked for that.
Yes,
I mean,
yes, we could do that.
he just said he
We're
likes.
always willing to look at anything, and I think the Board of Ed is always willing to look at things and give us updates too.
And Brian thought that if he looked at it with Casey and Bill, that it would validate the numbers, so the town would be okay with someone else looked at it. if I can
They
read
just
it.
have to protect
Oh, yeah,
the
I-
confidentiality.
Yeah, we're not talking about any
100%.
student names or redact, and I don't know if it can happen, so this is
Right.
just a suggestion. Brian said, you know, if I could just go look at and just see and maybe see something maybe that stands out or doesn't stand out, and then it validates it from our side almost as an audit, but not an audit. And we don't need the audit, he just wants to help. It's not really an audit, he
Think
just wants to
audit's
help.
not a
He,
good word.
he sees it as a problem that he thinks his brain can analytically work with it. So I think Bill may be open to it, but I think you gotta talk to John and see
Yeah.
what can happen. Yeah, I think we're somewhat on that now. We're at the point we can have a discussion. I really like to say, because if we put numbers and move them around and we're over 4, we're moving numbers that make no sense. We're putting in that we have to take out. And I didn't want to get to that stage, so I'm really comfortable at 366. If we went to 375 or we went down a little bit,
How much do we take out of contingency? I know I've asked that like 5 times and I can't remember the number.
we took out a lot. But
So it was 450 came out of contingency and 51 went back in for that.
Part-time.
Part-time,
Right.
full-time thing.
So we have 251 in there now, but we've moved the known special ed out for the most part. So I mean,
Yeah.
that number didn't have to be as high.
Yeah. And
So,
what did we do with electricity is,
Electricity hasn't changed here, because as far as we know, that, that extra cost is going down.
so that's been calculated into the
Yes.
reduction of that. I
Yes.
can't wait till that happens.
so also we put into OPEB contribution,
Yep,
which
yeah.
we took out of, which Steve was against the wall,
Mhm.
but, and
How
we
much
don't
did you
have
put
to,
in?
but we put in 300,000 in there to help that cost as
And
well,
we've been contributing how much?
700,000.
Oh.
But our actuary says we didn't have to contribute hardly any because we're ahead of the game. Market's going down, and Steve used a tool that was, again, because it was overfunded, and we didn't have this $500,000 that we realize now, Steve had to use the tool of that, we're overfunded, so not adding to the overfund as we stand today.
Yeah.
We've both talked about it, our uneasiness with the market, but this is a long-term thing. But if we could still put 300,000 in there and maintain a 3.66 budget, I think that's reasonable. Steve, you're shaking
I
your
agree,
head.
I'd like to look at all the numbers. I'll talk
Yes,
to Marcia in the
absolutely,
morning,
yes.
because it's a little hard to do on the,
No,
on Zoom.
totally appreciate that. I know that. I mean, but I think from a comfort point of view, there's going to be a little bit more tweaking here and there, but it's getting refined. Right? I
Yeah.
mean, so and it's a little bit less, obviously, than what you had because you didn't have $500,000.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Gives you room to move
Yes.
and make better decisions, I think.
Not better decisions, but decisions that sort of had to get pushed down a little bit, we can bring back into the fold. So,
Yeah, I probably didn't put that right. It allows you room to mitigate risk,
yes.
which you're trying to do, Glenn.
Correct. Well, we're all trying to do it, so I mean, it's a group, so I think we're okay. Let's go through some departments then, if
Yeah.
y'all don't mind.
All right, I'm gonna just jump in here and send this to Steve, because he doesn't have any of it, so Steve, I'm gonna send you what, the Excel version right now, and then I'll send it again, in the morning.
Okay, great. I'll give you a call first thing in the morning if that's okay, Marcia?
Well, you know, I'm not quite here first thing, but, a little after that would be fine.
Let's, I think that really well.
No.
Let's see.
No, he was part of the police commission.
So
that's
just
why I
because
brought
we
up.
can't get it
wasn't
to
like
show
he's-
up on the screen,
he's
that,
part of the police commission, So I felt the respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see anything on the screen.
That's all.
yeah,
So
They
you're
thought,
happy with
they thought 4.
Yeah.
all right, so I just sent that to you.
And I told you I had to come.
It's
Yeah.
amazing to see that 33, they basically average, 33 officers and like each officer. It's just eye-opening.
All right, so we've gone through, general government yesterday, the ones that didn't move much. And so now, we are looking at, public safety. The police will go back to, because that moved a lot.
The police will talk more in person, Steve. You know what we did, but we'll talk about it more in person when you're here.
Let's see.
We didn't do
Oh,
that.
this is, I'm sorry, I was
We didn't
thinking,
do
what the
banners.
heck? That, this was, I just pulled up the wrong one.
we're not doing the police.
Not the police, because that had big changes. Center Fire,
Yes.
Center Fire, we went through, and that went down for two reasons. One is they were doing a reserve, and that reserve has moved to capital. That was for the SCBA tanks. So that's 17,000 that went down. Also in the equipment expense, they just took an average of the equipment that they've expensed, but there were some big one-time purchases in there that were over $5,000. So when we look at the little equipment expenses like stethoscopes or whatever they are, that we took the average without the major expenses that would normally be in capital. So those were the two big deductions. Another one, utilities, that we've put them on our contract for utilities, so that'll save money there. We're trying to get them into our contract for something else that, and I can't remember, we've got them for electricity, we've got them for gas, we've got them for diesel. This is liquid propane maybe, I don't know, but there's one
Propane.
more that we're
Yeah,
trying.
they're paying $1.99 and we're paying $1.70, something.
Yeah,
I think.
$1.74, correct. $1.70 now, and it'll be $1.74 next year. So those were the biggest changes in their budget.
And that was center.
That was Center Fire, yes. The revenues are going down, that, and that's in the governor's proposed budget, that they've got like 1.5 million in the state budget to pay volunteer fire companies when they show up on something that's on the highway. There's 500 each. They're expecting that that'll be cut. Looking at the history, the 10,000 is an appropriate number of why they put it down. So.
I'm not seeing any huge changes.
It's easier for me to follow here.
I feel like I feel like it's always with the fire. It's always capital. Like the things we scrutinize with Center and Candlewood and EMS. It's always capital because that's where the big money comes in. I'm like missing half of. I don't know why, but that's fine. I feel like I'm missing something on my sheet. But it's just me. I'm having a rough Excel day.
All right.
It's like
I don't have any questions.
I don't either. I don't know what you said.
So this, I can tell with this thing on there that you don't have the Board of Finance copy.
Okay. There you go.
So let me.
Thank you. You just send it. I'm not on the.
And then I'll send it to everyone
Thank you.
tonight that,
You don't have to send it to me now. Don't worry about it. I'll just
okay,
do it later. Keep going.
and I just got out of it. So this is fire.
That's regular fire. No, that's
That's Center
Center
Fire.
Fire, yes.
So these are the three big ones that are going down.
The building and grounds went up 9,000, is that? Went up 9,000.
I will tell you.
You know, you really do a good job with this, Marcia.
She's so good.
You know what? That I understand that Lou called me the A word today, the auditor.
Oh, like awesome.
I was like,
Auditor, that she reviews these budgets like an auditor.
well, that's what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
I was guessing it was a different A word, but.
Right? hilarious.
I get called the other one, so. it's
I
all
do
good.
too, that's why I went right to that.
Like a week or so ago.
It's all good. How about those Yankees, Marcia? How about those Yankees?
I'm just trying to get this free now.
I know, because when you want it to go, it never goes.
What the heck? What's going on here? Thinking about it.
Is it in our book? Probably.
There we
Everything
go.
is
No,
in
no,
our
we
book.
got it yesterday.
You got it yesterday, but, if I look at the summary, I can remember what was in there. Um,
It was building and maintenance we were talking about, right?
Yeah,
Building and grounds maintenance.
Building and grounds.
It was 38, last year it was 28. The big difference is in cleaning,
No, the big difference is in facility repair, it looks like.
Yeah, mine's up. She's gonna
Yeah.
send us the
Yeah,
one
that
that
may-
was
Huh?
the financing.
Building and repair is up 100%.
In center,
yes, the,
building and grounds.
I think the budget last year was just low, that we're recommending, we agreed with their 18,000 for the budget this year. Last year, they only budgeted 12 for that.
oh,
Um,
yeah, no one's coming.
I think they had also like some masonry stuff
Yeah,
that
we
was
had
going,
masonry
brick or
pointing,
something.
brick pointing.
Was that it? Yeah, that's what I remember, right? Something about,
Building maintenance is up $4,000. The increases in 2 of the contracts that they have for building maintenance. Those were the biggest things that happened there. Do you want to go back to that?
no,
Do you like
when you
that?
brought it up, we both remembered the same thing. They had
Yeah.
stuff that went on that was legitimate that, as soon as you said pointing, that's where I was going to, like,
Yeah.
you know these technical terms.
I do a lot of DIY stuff. Much to my husband's dismay. Stop starting, start finishing. Start finishing.
All right, Candlewood Fire, we gotta really do something with. Their budget is terrible always.
Yeah, that they, they went up, the big thing is 7,000 for tires. It's the year to replace the tires. It's state mandated on when they have to replace them. And they tell us every year, this isn't a tire year, this is a tire year.
Well, this is a tire year.
This is a tire year.
I hate to say it, but coming from somebody in the business, that isn't truthful.
I try to tell all my customers.
Tires,
it's a
tires
wheel
go
year.
bad.
It's a wheel year.
It just
Um,
go bad.
This next one is the stipends. They're based on last year. And the firefighters LoSAP, that's the retirees, that in total, stipends went up just because last year we had more. And retirees went down because unfortunately 2 died.
Oof,
Oh, where was that?
down there.
Fire
Right here.
combined.
Fire combined.
So overall, they went up, what, 156, is that what it is?
Yes.
Mhm.
EMS, I guess we'll go back to. Fire marshal went down 1.04%.
Can't complain about that. That's great.
Emergency management went up.
Did you leave something?
Close my umbrella.
Oh, you need that tonight.
If I go home without it, I get yelled at by my wife. Make sure I have it.
Emergency management went down. Last year, there was some one-time equipment purchases as we started the new department.
Okay.
Highway he'll be in tomorrow night.
Perfect.
Okay.
Um,
We'll leave that alone.
Facilities, the big change there is we had to change cleaning companies, and that you'll see the cost here, and you'll see the cost,
That's the 54301 that's up by like 14%.
yes. Recycling, that is because of the grindings, I think we talked about that last night. But he can talk about it more tomorrow night.
Can't change it.
But I feel like there's nothing you can do about that.
No,
It
that's
is
what,
it is what it
that's
is.
the cost of business, you can't
Yep.
change it.
Okay.
Someone's taking it for free, they're no longer taking it for free,
Yeah.
you gotta pay.
That's it.
I mean, what are you gonna do?
Utilities, just talking about them one at a time, that they're each calculated separately. Water went down, just looking at the actual for the number of years, there was a budget in there to say number of gallons times price, and it was just giving us too high of a number because it didn't match the history. So I talked to Ralph about that, and he agreed we could bring it down, and that's why. Hydrants is a calculation that might go down. We got a letter one time, when we used to change it for the letter to say what the new prices would be, and then we were tricked last year, I think it was 2024, to say, oops, it didn't pass, and then we're under budget, so we haven't changed that one. Cell tower, that's just a calculation, $3,300 a month, and it goes up by a percentage next December.
That went up a lot.
Because we didn't have it, it was part of a
partial.
year before.
Yep.
Sewer and water assessment, that's just a flat amount, mostly Candlewood Lake Road. It has gone up a lot over the years because that's a new assessment. And there's revenue we talked about last night to offset that. Postage went up just from this year's history. Someone, Brian or Bob, asked me if it was the dollars or the amount of postage, and to be honest, I don't know. That I just took the actual, and I've lost track of the postage rates these days. Electric, that we ignored this year. We took the actual for 2024 and then increased it by percentages. And we compared that to the kilowatts and trying to do it, but we tried to do it, we have over 60 accounts, and some accounts the delivery is 5%, some it's 58%, and so we did our best to say, if we did it with each of the actual percentages from 2024, because this year's messed up, it looks like this year the kilowatt hours we're using about the same. But, so we tried our best to interpolate what the numbers are gonna be, and we did it multiplying it out and came to about the same number.
Casey did the same thing on her side, so on the school side, they did the same exercise. So that number on the school side is also a very well calculated process. So when we look at that number, not that we look at their line item numbers per se, but I know Casey gave me the backup, and it's the same type of calculation. So whatever it is, it's the best she could do.
Yeah,
And I'm not
hers is-
saying the best she could do in a bad
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
It's the best she could do in a
With
good
the-
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, hers is calculated much more thoroughly because she's got 5 accounts or 4 accounts or something and she monitors it every month
So that's what I'm trying to say, her number is right, so, or as right as can be. So I'm confident in that part of it.
Yep, street lighting is the same thing. Not sure why we need 2 different accounts and we don't throw them all in electric, but they're all electric. Fuel oil, that's, we've already locked in the prices.
It's a fixed price for the gallons, we pretty much know.
Yep, and the fuel prices went down.
See, that's another scary thing though, like as we build in these expenses, is fuel gonna stay this low or is it gonna go up with all this stupidness in the world going on right now?
Yeah.
So we're lucky now it's low and it's locked in for
We're
next
locked in
year.
for how long?
Yeah, but the
For
year
next
after,
year.
we can get a big bump.
Right, and that's a hiccup you can't get around.
Right.
So that's when we build in these lower expenses, that's what catches you out. So, well, we
Yep.
saw what $500,000 did without having it for the cars. It really messed us up.
It really does.
It would have
Yeah.
really
Mhm.
done some damage to us.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Propane, same thing, the prices that we've locked in. Sewer use, they haven't done their budget yet, so that's our best guess. In center school, the carrying cost for utilities, we had a higher number in there for electric. In last year, that we were still using it as a school for part of the year, and which we weren't paying, but we still had higher electric costs. This year, it's our best guess. There's 10,000 in here for things that might go wrong. So this is electric. This is we still have to have the grease trap tested, and the alarm service, and then 10,000.
So pretty much this whole category is calculations and estimations.
Yes. Yes.
So, but it's been vetted, so turning green, you're not changing that. We're
All
not-
right. Energy Advisory Board, they did not ask for a change. That they were happy with their $500.
Turn it green.
Health and Welfare is, Department of Health is the first one. Their budget went up by $185 outside of salaries. And he's willing to come talk to you and tell you why.
No, he can come talk to us if he wants, but he don't have to explain why.
with that.
Human Services, that's the social services and the senior center combined.
Got it.
Theirs went up,
Half-time.
but the only reason it went up was this outside services, which are their programs, and the revenue went up on the other side. So it's a net wash. People are coming back every year to in-person programs. She does a nice job.
So the increases, there's a revenue side that, again, that balances it.
Correct.
Do we see that?
We can see that revenue.
Oh, it's senior center programs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a no-brainer either. So that's their big move.
That's their big move. Other than, if it wasn't for that, their non-revenue budget went down. Oh, there is this change here that for non-union wages. There's two things in there. One is one of their members, it's a next priority form that was, I have to get you because that was added late, that one of their members has one of their employees now has a college degree in the services that they're providing, and they didn't at the time of hire. So that was an adjustment. And then the second one is that we had half of a salary paid through ARPA last year.
Oh, that was with the
Yeah.
police and the fire, but everybody
Yeah.
told us that this was a position that's
absolutely.
really needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody
It saves
came.
money it saves money for those departments because they can handle cases that EMS doesn't have to go out to.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly,
Yeah.
people came
Yep,
in.
Yeah.
and we knew that it's phasing in, and we weren't
But we
gonna
knew
have that
too.
this
We
year.
knew that though.
And there's revenue from the opioid grant on the other
Yeah,
side.
that's right.
But again, this plays into what we talked earlier and reiterated for the other departments and everyone's gonna watch this is, we knew about this was something that was coming. When we talked to the other departments, we didn't know about the ammunition, we didn't know about the insurance and the gas on the vehicles. This is a known. So this
Right.
this is something we knew was coming and we accepted it last year.
Yep, right.
So,
Plan for it,
yeah.
The library went up only 2.34%, and the non-payroll stuff is 1.8%.
There's nothing big there either, right? I mean, the big percentage is $400, right?
No,
That's the
there-
big percentage
Yeah,
line.
there's a 23%, that's an $1,800 equipment maintenance and repair.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's 1,800.
Yeah, it's equipment.
I turn it green if you guys are all good with that too.
Recreation, she's coming tomorrow night. There was some changes and with all of them, you'll see that if they're not full-time employees, we did an analysis to see, what is the overtime, what is the seasonal stuff, and tried to adjust it appropriately to the history. So that's what accounts for these changes. It doesn't change the bottom line.
She's coming in though, right?
She's coming
Okay.
in,
Okay.
yep.
So also for background on what happened today is, and I'm sorry, I do a lot of calls during the day to try to prepare for things. And I heard that there might be a truck that the fire department doesn't need. Park and Recs needs a truck. If they can work that out somehow, even if we have to give the fire department a little bit of money for the truck to get it to the town side, that would enable her to get a piece of equipment she really needs.
Is that an actual pickup truck or is it like a Toddler thing?
I think it's a truck is one of them. I don't know, but we'd let her have an opportunity
Yeah.
to see if she could use it.
Yeah, I know that they've been asking for it.
Right.
Will she
And-
know by tomorrow what kind of truck it is? So we can
I
ask
don't
her?
know, we can figure it all out together. We can walk through this together. But she had a real need for a Bobcat piece of equipment, and
Did
she
you
got
ask
a
them?
truck,
A tool.
right? What'd she get, a truck?
A truck that, well, because, and when there was a meeting with the selectmen, and they, by the way, said they might have two possibilities. For the ski team, her assistant is driving to the school. The kids take all their equipment and put in his car or some sort of vehicle, someone's personal vehicle,
His personal car.
hold it for the day, and then he has to drive it back. And it was quite a sad story of trying to get that. And Tara had
We
remembered.
definitely, if somebody's using their personal vehicle for town business, we have liability concerns in maintaining what kind of insurance do they have, things like that. It gets pretty complicated. If somebody does it occasionally, that's not a problem, but this is going on a daily basis throughout the summer, and that's not a good solution.
So we're trying to find a better one, how's that? We're trying to do this.
Yeah, I think if we could do it, that'd be great.
So, but then she wanted, and we might as well talk about it now, right? She wanted, instead of a new pickup truck, she now would like a Bobcat, right?
Well, she would like them all,
Yeah, no, I know, but I mean, she knows the real world.
The Bobcat they use all the time, and it's failing, and she's worried that it won't even last till the next budget season, correct?
So if we can get a truck from the fire department to fit one need, maybe we can then look at the Bobcat as a different type of priority. It's one of her priorities. It may be a little bit more, but if we can figure out a way to solve two of her problems with just a little bit more money, I think
Yeah.
that's a solution.
I'm with you.
I get that.
Again, I need to comment that my husband is now on the Parks and Rec Commission, so
That's
I
fine.
don't know what I can vote on. I don't know how that works.
Okay, but we can still talk logically.
Yeah,
we can talk it out, yeah.
Okay, and I think logically, I think it would make sense if we could work something with the fire department, get them a truck, because I think they're low mileage too, these trucks, they're older, but they're low mileage. And again, it'll be up
It
to
is.
her, so if we can work something out and make her happy on both sides, I think that's a win for the town.
And Marcia, I know I've asked this in past years, but we just looked at the senior center had the revenue line and they had the expenditures that their programs, but we don't see that in the Parks and Rec account, do we?
They're in a separate fund, it's called the self-sustaining fund.
Okay.
So their revenue and expenditures go there, so that the townspeople are not, other than social security, the townspeople are not paying for these programs, they're self-sustaining, so to speak.
Okay.
Got it.
We've got the grounds, that has a large increase. We talked a little bit about that yesterday, the CLES maintenance, and she'll talk more about that. The turf field that was moved in, and some increased costs of some other things, but she'll be in tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it tomorrow.
Historic District Commission, no change. Arts Commission did have a change, the 42% increase. They've had 3,500 in their budget ever since at least the last 6 years. And with that, they do the film festival, and they would like to have a second event. And so they've asked to up their budget by $1,500.
I have no problem
See
with
the
that.
big deal in that, honestly. The second event is always fun.
Yeah. Those film festivals will
I feel like people really like them.
Have you
Some
been?
do,
No.
Oh,
but
good.
enough.
But I
probably
feel
do
like
go
I always hear enough excitement
Yeah.
about them that it works.
for that kind of money.
Um,
It makes a few people happy.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
So that's the thing, we focus a lot on certain areas, school, you know, in athletics. Sometimes you need to focus a little on other
Yeah.
people
You
in
do.
the town.
Yeah.
So even if this only affected 100 people, it's still well spent $1,500.
Yeah, it's a quality of life thing.
Right,
Yeah.
so I'm,
Makes our town more attractive.
Yeah.
It does. And I think it's an age thing too. Like,
That's what I'm
it's-
saying.
We're always focusing on the kids in this.
it's 1,500
Yeah, exactly.
to help out. I think that's, so if they can make a second event for that, so be it.
And the youth commission seemed fine.
That didn't change.
Yeah.
Contingency, we're still talking about education. We go down to debt service and we've got principal and interest we can't change. We've got short-term financing as lease payments for copiers that is pretty consistent year over year.
Can't change it.
Can't change it.
Don't agree.
And then we go into the capital.
Don't even want to touch it till Brian comes.
Yeah.
Monday.
He's got that, let him handle it. Is that it?
That's it.
Come on.
No.
Ah,
Come on.
easy.
I want you guys to know I'm in a room that's about 55 degrees. There's no heat in this basement.
Oh, jeez.
I think
Warmer
we're,
than outside, though, I imagine.
so you now
I'm
have,
staying awake.
Yeah, right?
you now have what the changes that we talked about. These are not hard changes, Steve. These were just
No.
plug and play changes to bring the conversation more to the table. We got a few big departments left to go through, Parks and Rec. We got Center Fire coming tomorrow. What else
Public
we got,
Works.
Marcia, that we gotta talk
Public
about?
Works
Public
tomorrow.
Public Works. So we'll go through them again. The little departments we've gone through. I think Naheed is gonna wanna do a summary of increases over a certain percentage to talk about. We'll let her present that if she wants.
And Marcia's gonna send us the updated one.
I'm
Right.
gonna send you the updated, I'll send you the calculation for how we got to the 500,000 of taxes. I think those are the only two new things that,
Yeah.
And we're still around, like I say, Steve, 366. So I mean, that's not a bad number for the services we're offering. If you want to start getting rid of services, then that's the town's decision.
Yeah, and then we'll have a final conversation next Tuesday, Wednesday, right?
Yeah, so absolutely, we're gonna have a group like we always do. That final, hey, I want
Yep.
this, or hey, someone said something to me. Can we think about this? Type of moment,
Are we,
correct?
yeah. And are we starting at 7 all next week now
Next
that
week is
Brian is
7.
back?
I think 7 is fine. I mean, we're only here in 2 hours tonight,
No.
so I mean, I don't think. What is that bad?
No,
I think if we get through tomorrow night, that's how many? Who's coming tomorrow?
just Parks and Rec and Public Works.
So then we don't have many more departments anyway after
And
that.
Brian is not here
Brian's-
tomorrow night,
No,
but
no,
Naheed.
Capital, Naheed is.
But Brian will be back on
Steve,
Monday.
can you, I don't know, I guess I can. We want to bring back, I think, on the Wednesday for our regular meeting day, bring back the Board of Ed,
I think we should.
right? On that
Okay.
Wednesday. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll ask on your behalf.
Thank you.
It's a regular meeting and invite Board of Ed back.
Yeah, just invite the Board of Ed back, because I think by then we've thought more about it, right? We've had good discussions. We can discuss it Tuesday night before we end, so we have somewhat of a face forward.
Did we want to try that meeting at 6? Did you want to try to start earlier that Wednesday since it's a regular meeting and a budget?
Whatever's best for you guys, I can do either. But I will be putting the agendas out by tomorrow, so let's pick time.
I can do 6 that day if we wanted to make that day, because I think once we hear the Board of Ed, we're almost done at that point, I think, right? I mean,
And then Thursday's just, we're deliberating.
Thursday, we're not having a meeting.
Oh, Thursday,
I won't
no.
be here, but
That's
y'all
fine.
can have a meeting if you
No,
want and
that's fine.
deliberate.
I think
mean,
Monday is,
Because Monday,
Capital.
Tuesday is when we're,
Yes.
Yeah, Monday's capital.
and then the following week is Monday,
Tuesday was
Tuesday.
deliberation.
No,
And it's
nothing.
Friday,
Friday the 21st, that's
Friday
right.
the 21st.
Yep, Wednesday's regular meeting, more deliberations, Board of Ed back. And then we'd set aside March 21st for further deliberations and, final night if we still.
If we need it.
If we need it.
But what we've done here is we didn't have every department come in either. We had the departments that wanted to come in, the ones that didn't change, so we've streamlined that aspect of things as well.
Yeah.
So I think we're okay.
So you want 6 o'clock on Wednesday?
Yeah.
I think it
6
just gives
o'clock
us more
on
time
Wednesday.
because it's a regular meeting and if we're bringing the, and then if we wanted to, it'll be nice to be able to deliberate too.
Yeah, we need to let Casey know there's a board, I don't know if my calendar is correct, there may be a Board of Ed Finance Committee meeting,
Wednesday.
Wednesday at 6:30, but we can
It's
check.
fine, we can work with her.
This
They were
is
relevant
this is
tonight,
relevant.
Right, they're the regular DOE,
Yeah.
and next Wednesday, probably something. So
I
we'll do
mean,
7?
even if they come after.
We'll do 7
right?
o'clock Monday and
I mean-
Tuesday, and then 6 o'clock on Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a special meeting, it's a regular meeting, so we can move it all
Right,
around.
We
if
could
have
move
to.
around, we could stop our regular meeting if we had to and
Yeah,
go to
100%.
special meeting, we
Yeah.
could do a lot of things.
100%.
All right, anything you wanna add tonight, Mary, that you wanna add?
No.
Eileen, you sure?
No, I'm good. I think next week will be really good with Brian back and just having everybody here and, you know, we've plowed through so much.
I think we're at a comfortable number now that we can talk and move things.
Mhm.
I think that now it becomes the finesse part of it and philosophy part of it. I don't think we have any really big moving pieces. We have like some discussions on the Board of Ed, but on the other departments, I'm not so sure there's big moving pieces.
Right.
That it's gonna move a needle enough to make a huge
No.
difference.
I agree.
Oh,
And I think
that's
that-
also, wait, we do have one, and we have time tonight, and I
Mhm.
apologize, is registrars.
Oh,
I had Marcia put it in for 8 hours
Yeah.
instead of the 6 to start. But we can discuss that. I mean, instead of a big change, she put it in for 8, and we'll see how it goes.
You changed your mind on that.
What did I go, 9? What did I go?
You kept it at the 12, but
Oh.
took out the
Oh, primary.
primary.
I kept it at 12, but the primary that wasn't, so that it's a net, it washes out. So like whatever money was the 12 hours
Yeah.
is out on another account
And I
side.
think that's okay because the primary is like it's not something that we plan on. You know,
Yeah.
we're hoping that
yeah.
they
So-
don't happen.
And, I
I
mean,
think,
we have a process to ask for more money.
correct.
She sort of blew me away, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so.
In a good way.
I do
Huh?
feel.
In a good way.
Yeah,
I declared I was 6 hours no more, and when I listened to her, she presented very well. So I am okay, I think, if she's gonna do what she says she's gonna do, and she gave me no reason to believe, I'm talking
Yeah.
me personally,
Yeah.
not us,
Yep.
but she gave me no reason that she's not gonna get done what she said she's
yeah.
gonna get done.
And I mean, honestly, this may be maybe after this year, getting through all the stuff that they're trying to accomplish, then next year it goes down to fewer hours.
Yeah.
But
And I was
right.
thinking about that too, because you brought up a great point, like, and she even said it, everybody said the first year's the hardest, so then you think, not that I'm saying that, you know, she was, but, you know, okay, are we attacking this from just, this is a really hard year, and there's all
Yeah.
these things that are happening, and I need this, but like you said, at some point,
Yeah,
those things all have to level off.
Yep.
So maybe it is just
yeah.
a really, and she had so many new things that happened in a normal that's not a normal first year.
Yeah.
So,
And
I
we
think
did-
it's good.
Every registrar in the state had all that impact.
And we will meet quarterly, and so we can look at it and see where we stand and how it's going.
Yeah, and as she tracks, how much time she spends on different activities, it'll become more clear.
Are you comfortable, Marcia? I can't ask Steve because he hasn't looked at the numbers yet, so it's not fair to ask Steve if he's comfortable, but are you comfortable where we're headed?
Last year, my favorite discussion in 6 years of the Board of Finance was a discussion with Dan Dvorak and Brian on, Brian wanted to bring the mill rate down a little, and Dan talked about why it should be higher, because we've got these things, and there were schedules, and it was just so wonderful that,
Can we bring Dan as a special guest?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, I do.
And Dan's point was that we've got to be careful bringing it down too low, because we've got these other things coming up, and that would be my concern, is that maybe we should add more to OPEB, and have the rate higher, because we will have other things, and my biggest concern is we've had employees' salaries at 2.25%, 2.5%, all through this huge inflation because we had contracts that, and I'm worried about where those contracts might come in. So that would be my thought if we brought it up. It is 2.66 too low, and I won't repeat that whole conversation, but
And when is the next reroute?
the next reval they're working on now, so it'll be October of. We'll sign it next year, so the 2026 will sign, so it'll be October of 2026, so it'll be for the
26, 7
7
Yeah.
or 8
Yeah.
years.
Well, we have one that expires this year on June 30th and one that expires next year on June 30th, right?
For union
Marcia?
contracts, yes.
Union contracts,
I was
yes.
talking about reval.
All right, we could talk about that. I mean, the 366, if we have to move it a little, we can move it in a direction up
I
a
hear
little
your
bit
point.
if we,
I do.
so.
And we have to plan on picking the dates for public hearings and stuff before this is all done.
Marcia, you know that better than I would.
Yep.
So whatever we gotta do, let me know and I'll file it with,
Yeah, I'll send you the schedule, it shows the times that we
Yeah.
have to do it between here and here.
And we gotta do capital by when?
End of March sometime.
Okay.
Let me pull it up now. So, sometime between, and I thought you had already picked these dates.
Yeah, I know, but I didn't. really know.
Sometime between March 27th and April 5th.
Is we gotta have a town meeting.
It's supposed to must publish the notice of special town meeting.
And so so you have to have your budget done, it would, if you did it on April 1st, you would have to have your budget done on March 22nd.
Which we are.
And if
But
you
do we
did
wanna
it-
hold a meeting on April 1st?
Yeah, and,
They might think we were fooling.
And Brian has said he wants to present in Dan's place.
Oh, I mean, I could present too,
Yeah.
if you, yeah.
If you want to, you can present, I mean, but we'll talk it over with Brian, we'll
Yeah.
see how it goes.
April 1st is a Tuesday. But you could do it the 31st, you could do it the 2nd.
April 1st is fine.
Yeah, but we want to have one town meeting and one approval, right?
Correct,
To
and they
coordinate the
would,
capital and the budget to move them to referendum.
yep, they would line, the stars would align for April 1st.
Okay, let's shoot for that date.
I have that in my phone, actually, public hearing already scheduled.
Oh,
So we must
maybe
have-
Brian has to do it. I might have something at work. Need to be on
Okay.
site that week.
All right.
I'll be back by then, so I won't miss it.
All right, so, Marcia, we heard you, we'll take that into consideration. I think we're good now tonight. Does anybody else feel we need to stay longer?
No, I'm okay.
All right, well then I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll wait till
Yeah.
Marcia.